Hey, hey. What's up, guys? It's been a while since I've done one of these streams. It's been a while. It's been a wild ride. I've been kind of straddling the fence between, yo, what's up, Dark Matter? I've been kind of straddling the fence between streaming on Twitch, streaming Fortnite. Fortnite's one of the main games I play, and streaming YouTube or just like making videos for YouTube. I'm kind of like, I feel like I'm in a weird spot where I'm like kind of playing both sides of the fence there, but it seems to be working. I don't know. It's just it's a lot to try to manage. Hi, Carol. How are you today? Oh, that's a really cute profile picture. Yeah. Like, so I was saying, it's been a while since I've done one of these streams, but I've been meaning to get to it. Yeah, I've just been really busy, like, trying to get clips of my Fortnite gameplay. Is that glass full of vodka? I wish. No. Just the good old dihydrogen monoxide. That's it. Just the good old dihydrogen monoxide. So yeah, I'm gonna check out. Today we're gonna watch this interview. It's Justin Hawkins interview, but this like popped up, this 3-minute video, so I was gonna start the stream with this. I just want to see what this is.
So I think the main
Oh wait, hold on, guys. I gotta change my output to my headphones.
purpose of art, and like trying to simplify it as much as possible, is to create an empathy window. So just to create feeling.
Hey Patricia, is that loud? Uh-oh. The stream's current bitrate is lower than recommended? What does that mean? We're loving your Ren journey. Thanks, Dark Matter. Is the quality of the stream okay? I just got a warning saying my bitrate is low. Oh, you guys can see that. Saying my bitrate is low. I don't know if I can change the bitrate while I'm streaming or if I have to end the stream. Oh. It's good? Okay. Hey, Nessie. What's up? Alright, let's, so... You guys might hear me say this like 1 or 2 more times, but I just wanted to say it's been a while. The reason it's been a while since I've done one of these streams is because I'm like straddling the fence between gaming streams on Twitch and trying to like get clips from that and post that and make my Twitch stream grow, and also my YouTube like reaction channel, which pretty much has been exclusively Ren stuff. But I'm like, I just feel like I'm in this weird point where I'm like straddling the fence between these two like projects that I'm trying to make happen. So, but we're getting to it. I've been meaning to watch more Ren interviews. I just like getting into the mind of Ren and like hearing what he has to say outside of his music. it's a nice reminder that of the guy behind the music that he puts out. I'm good, Nessie. I'm good. Other than feeling slightly overwhelmed with everything I'm trying to like make happen right now, but I'm good. Your stream is kind of doing bits too. Haha, nice. I see what you did there. And my music's been kind of doing bits too. Like I actually might do something great. Now it's looking great. Okay. All right. So okay, we're going to watch the Justin Hawkins interview here. But this like 3-minute video popped up. Let's just watch this. I wanted to check this out.
So I think the main purpose of art,
thanks G the OG,
and like trying to simplify it as much as possible.
I was hoping that you would get around to watch it. Yep, you read my mind. I've been meaning to watch that one too. I had a lot of recommendations for that one. So talking with Tony. Who's Tony?
And like trying to simplify it as much as possible is to create an empathy window. So just to create feeling, whether it's happiness, sadness, fear, or outrage.
I don't really know who Justin Hawkins is. No. Step by step, don't rush. That's, yeah. I definitely am feeling that. I think I might, what do you guys think about the daily posts? Like, I've been trying to post a video every day. Is that a little overwhelming? Like, is that too frequent? I'm wondering if it's like too much that there's no scarcity in my videos. You know what I mean? Like maybe I might try like every other day. Oh, what's up, Martin? Can't stay. All right, man. If you guys have any thoughts about my like posting frequency, let me know, because I've been wondering lately if like one video a day is too much, and if I might even get burnt out trying to make that happen along with everything else. No, I don't know who Justin Hawkins is. What is he Tony Humphreys? Oh, okay. Daily is too often. Yeah, that's kind of what I was thinking. Maybe every other day? Or like 3 times a week? I don't know. I was in the mode of just like, I was getting a good amount of views and I was just trying to get like as much Ren content out as I could. But, and I even for a little bit there, I was posting like twice a day. I mean, it's not exactly too much. Surprise live. What's up? What's up, Jolene? It's not exactly too much, but I'm just wondering if it's like too much for the audience, you know, like maybe like my videos might be getting lost or my audience is just getting like fatigued because no one's going to want to watch me just every single day it's like too much probably. Hey, what's up? Don't panic. Finally caught alive. Anyways, but I digress.
Happiness, sadness, create.
Let's actually try to watch this.
So I think the main purpose of art, and like trying to simplify it as much as possible, is to create an empathy window. So just to create feeling, whether it's happiness, sadness, fear, or outrage, because life can be monotonous and it can be mundane, and it gives a little break inside that monotony. And I think the challenging thing for creators these days,
three a day. Oh man. Oh, thanks, Nessie. I don't know. I wonder if like me posting my next video makes my last one get less views, or like, I don't know, maybe I'm overthinking it. I do like what Ren is saying here though, about drawing the viewer of your art through a window of empathy. That's kind of what I'm doing here right now, talking about my struggles
inside that monotony. And I think the challenging thing for creators these days is that we live inside a time where people are both paradoxically completely hypersensitized to things and completely desensitized to things. And that's true because people are desensitized because once you've watched a film like Saw, right, and seen someone hack off their own leg with a blunt hacksaw, or if you've seen Two Girls, One Cup, which you should never watch if you've never seen it before, then you become, your tolerance for your own discomfort gets pushed higher. And filmmakers realise this, and so they become more bold and more daring in what they do. And so you can go to the cinema these days and watch a really uncomfortable scene like rape, abuse, murder, and you could sit there without batting an eyelid or flinching because we're so used to seeing it that we're numb to it. So for that, for an artist's point of view, it's quite difficult to challenge people these days. But then paradoxically, we're also hypersensitized because ever since the internet came about, mass media used to be the main source where people got information, right? So newspapers, TV, people used to consume information from those sources. As soon as the internet came about and you have things like Facebook, people have to rely on, well, not people have to, but people rely on their mates for sharing information, or loads of indie media networks get born and you can consume information from everywhere and suddenly it's not biased. And so mass media saw a massive decline and drop in people consuming it. They panicked, and from the birth of that came like the clickbait generation, right? So you've got like super evocative language like, you would not believe this, you would not believe your eyes if you saw this. And the dark side of that was that people now try to demand your attention by using super evocative language, and it's like really trivial and mundane things get hypersensitized. So you could have like a celebrity tweeting something a little bit tongue-in-cheek, like nothing worse than you would say to your mate in your living room, and like the media jump on them and he or she will get fucking crucified, like literally torn to pieces, like out to the walls. And I think that people are so impressionable that it then rubs off on them. So when you watch like a YouTube video these days, yeah, and something's maybe a little bit tongue-in-cheek, or something is maybe, or someone's wearing something unfashionable, look in the comment section of everyday people and it's like a fucking witch hunt. It's like you see thousands and thousands of comments of people being like, this is fucking disgusting, kill yourself. It's like that deep. And as an artist myself, and you probably experienced this as well, it's like you subject yourself to such an amount of criticism to the point where someone would tell you to end your life because people are so hypersensitized. So it's like, as an artist now, we have to tread this line between complete sensitization and also complete numbness and apathy to what you're trying to make. And I think that is one of the most challenging things about being an artist today.
Wow. No, I just wanted to watch this quick little video because it popped up in my suggested videos and it looked really interesting. And I listened to the first like 5 seconds of it. We're going to watch the Justin Hawkins interview now.
Justin Hawkins, and this is Justin Hawkins rides again. Here comes he's wearing that jacket and hat combination that makes him look like an all-American.
Wait, someone said Hawkins was the lead singer of The Darkness? I've never heard of The Darkness. He dresses like I did in the 90s.
American hero, or Murdoch from the original A-Team series. The answer to that is
he does look like that.
I just wanted you to like me, just trying to fit in. All right. A lot of you have been away.
Oh my god, he's being so sincere too. That's so, I love that. That's so humble of him. I mean, that's what we all do, right? The reason you try to dress well is to feel good about yourself and let other people feel good about you, you know?
I wanted you to like me, just trying to fit in.
A lot of you try to fit in, all right?
You have been awaiting.
Okay, I already love this guy. I've never seen any of Justin Hawkins' stuff, but yeah, he's funny, man. I believe in a thing called love. Oh, okay. I believe in a thing called love. Ba-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. Is that one? That's the one? He's joking. I mean, I feel like he's joking, but I feel like he's also not at the same time, which is funny, which is really funny. I mean, I feel like he's half joking, you know, which is, it makes the joke even better.
The release of this episode, because today I'm speaking with Ren.
Maybe he's
And
fully
for those-
joking. I don't know. Either way, it's funny to me.
Those of you unaware, Ren is a songwriter that has become incredibly popular over the last couple of years. His songs and videos are receiving millions of views on YouTube due to his
Yeah, they are, and millions are waiting for Slaughterhouse. Ren, drop some new music, man. Hurry up.
incredible storytelling. I've reacted to 2 of his videos on this channel already, and both of them blew me away. Ren has had a tough life due to his battle with chronic illness. I spoke to him while he was over in Canada receiving treatment. Thank you for all of your questions. I hope you enjoy this interview. You can also listen to it as an audio podcast on whatever podcast app you happen to use. But for now, please, to enjoy. Good day to you, one and all. It is I, Justin Hawkins, and this is Justin Hawkins Rides Again, long form. I don't know why I said it in that sort of radio DJ from the 90s voice. I'm just excited because today I'm being joined by Ren, and Ren is an artist who we all love and admire, and he's given up some of his precious time to spend talking to.
Yo, Hawkins is so fun, man. I like this guy a lot. You thought he was a tool, and now you think he's excellent? Yeah, I think he's excellent, man. It's crazy to have this good of an impression of somebody in such a short amount of time. I saw that, G. I saw that. I'm so excited.
To me about what we're going to talk about.
What are we going to talk about? Oh, everything you want to know, everything and anything, Justin.
We're going to talk about everything. I can't wait.
All at once.
Let's do it. Justin Hawkins rides again with Ren. It only occurred to me to do that rhyme in the last moment there.
I would have prepared something, and we could do something like a dueling banjos type intro scenario.
Amazing. Have you got your guitar there?
Dueling banjos.
There, actually.
Yeah.
This was the first big interview Ren did after High Ren took off? Okay, that's good to know.
But whether or not it'll be picked up by the microphone is a complete different
Banjo?
story. Hang on, wait 2 seconds. I'm going to run off.
So,
Banjoby, what's up,
Ren
man?
is 33 years old and he's from Bangor in Wales. Not with an H, it's just Wales. And he was a
Wales.
member of the indie hip-hop band Trick the Fox and Big Push, which is a British busking band based in Brighton. So,
Wait, they call themselves a busking band? A British busking band?
do you actually live in Brighton or in Wales?
No, I moved out of Wales. I escaped when I was 19 years old. So I've lived in various places since then. I lived in Bath for a bit. I lived in Brighton. I did have to move home to Wales during the sort of peak of my health problems for a long time.
British artists are usually relatively humble and grounded. Can you guys send some of that humbleness and groundedness over to America? Because I think we could use some of that. I think we could use a lot of that. Maybe Ren is the what's the word? The catalyst for that. Maybe he's the funnel.
Home to Wales.
I can tell. I already can tell they have like such a good vibe together. Just the beginning there.
Places since then. I lived in Bath for a bit. I lived in Brighton. I did have to move home to Wales during the sort of peak of my health problems for a long time. But for the most part, recently, in the most recent years, yeah, I've been in Brighton. Love it.
Do you feel like there is an are you from a small town?
A very small. No, I'm not from Bangor. So Bangor's a little bit of a. There's an interesting fact about Bangor actually. It's got the highest pub to student ratio in the UK.
Okay, one pub apiece, so you never need to speak to anybody else while you're.
Exactly, mate. No, I'm from an even smaller place called Dwyran, which is on the Isle of Anglesey. So Anglesey, if people don't know, it's like the head on the end of Wales, and it's a very. We had one shop in the whole village, and then there was a supermarket that you had to drive an hour to get to. But then we had one shop in the village that shut down.
That kind of sounds like where I grew up. We had one little grocery store, and if you wanted to go to like Walmart or Meijer, well, we didn't even have a Meijer until I moved out. But it was like 40 minutes away.
So
Small towns, man. You gotta love them.
so it was a very like rural, little tiny place, but that's where I'm from. Yeah.
Wow. And so when you say escape, do you mean in order to pursue your music dreams? Or?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like because that's the sort of story I told myself until I thought about it a bit more, and it was kind of because nobody was really doing music when I was growing up. It was none of my friends, none of my friendship circle, and but
What is Justin drinking? That's like the second one of these shots I've seen him take.
that forced me, I think, because I got into it.
Is that like a 5-hour energy? Oh wow, 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 Spoo. I'm just gonna call you Sput.
And
Nice.
none of my friendship circle.
Were you Sput? Were you creeping on Ren's hometown in Google Street View? Sput. Were you internet stalking Ren? That's okay. We've all done it.
And but that forced me, I think, because I got into it through producing drum and bass music. I think I heard a song by Aphrodite, this drum and bass producer called Aphrodite, when I was about 12 years old. Before that, I played guitar and stuff, but I became obsessed with this idea, and I got myself a copy of Reason. I started producing, and it wasn't until I was like, I need to find a singer or a rapper, and asking around and couldn't find anyone as a 12-year-old Welsh kid. So I started doing it myself. So really that isolation kind of forced me to start doing all these things, singing, and I was absolutely terrible when I first started. I've got some recordings of my.
I can't believe that. I think your pipes are
It's
unbelievable.
very, very true. If you hear those early recordings, everyone's always like, nah, but I'm like, no, really, really was. It was just persistence and time and sheer. Because
You think it's confidence as well, though, because
Morning, Dez. What's up? Glad to see you.
just persistence and time and sheer. Because
you think it's confidence as well, though, because I mean, you've obviously got range and power and control.
it was really just that I just relentless. I was upset. I was kind of lucky that there are a lot of people, I think, when they're that age, they're still trying to figure out what the hell they want to do or what they want to be. And I even had conversations with a lot of my friends who get quite depressed about trying to find their space in the world and who they are. And I think I was quite lucky, and ever since I started playing, ever since I was about 10 years old, I was very sure of what I wanted to do and what I wanted to be, and it was always something encompassing music.
Oh shoot, you're right, Dez. I forgot. Thank you. I love geolocation things. Oh, nice, Sput. Nice, that's cool.
Wanted to do and what I wanted to be, and it was always something encompassing music. So I think rather than it was just because confidence, I think, was something that I had to work on as well. When I first started performing, I was shaking like a leaf, man. So it was more just pure determination that I had to do it, and there was nothing else I could do. And by the time I was in my 20s, that was literally true, because I'd neglected every area of personal development other than music. So my practical skills applying to anything else, like I can throw together a song, but put up a set of shelves and I struggle.
Yeah, I think that's so. Going back to not being able to find collaborators, I think that's the mother of that's the necessity. That's the mother of you inventing Ren, who's basically a person that can do all of that.
Yeah, I suppose so. Yeah, because there was so many things that I wanted to, just because I wanted to do so much, and I guess I diagnosed ADHD very young, and I guess that was part of it. I was.
How you doing, Frosh? Good to see you, man.
Always, I wanted to do everything, but it's also a part of me that I love collaborating. It's not so much that I need to do everything, because I love it when someone does something better than me. It's fantastic because I can bring them in and we can create something that I would have never been able to create by myself, which is why I feel now blessed to live in Brighton, where there's an incredible network of people around me.
There's a huge music scene in Brighton, isn't there? Do you ever feel like have you ever thought about living in London? Have you ever tried that?
I've spent a fair bit of time in London. I think because even though I was craving more going on, coming from, I'm quite antisocial little bugger, and coming from a small little place, I find London quite claustrophobic. And one thing I find quite ironic about London is there's such a huge amount of people crammed into quite a small place in terms of a capital city. But there's still a feeling of almost like disconnection. When I grew up in these small villages, there's a lot of hello, who you know, and all your neighbours saying hello to them. Whereas you sit on the tube in London and there's not a huge amount. There's still this kind of feeling of separation, which I always found quite bizarre, because it's not always like that when you travel to different European cities. And not always. I think that there's moments that break through that. But for me, I found that a little bit, the claustrophobia and the separation I found. When I spent elongated times in London. I do love London because it's just such a big hub of so much going on. But
I think it's the greatest city in the world. I mean, that's kind of like, I always think my experience of London was, you go to London, you're pursuing music, you sleep.
London's the greatest city in the world. What do you guys think? Do you guys agree with that? I've never been to London. I don't know. I've been to New York and I did not love it. So, I actually really liked Boston when I went to Boston. That was nice.
Experience of London was, you go to London, you're pursuing music, you're sleeping on people's floors, and there is a community, like a sort of subculture of struggling musicians who help each other out whilst also jealously kind of slagging each other off. You know, it's a really strange kind of you know, there's two sides to it, but it is awesome to be involved in it. And then at some point in my life, I had to stop sort of drinking, and I had to sort of change all of my social activity. Basically, just stop going out.
I've also never been to Berlin. I'd love to go.
And then then I really felt lonely, and I totally felt exactly what you're describing there, because you know, there's not really the same sense of community that you would have on. Where'd you say it was, in Anglesey?
Nice.
Anglesey, yeah. Well, I suppose I never spent enough time in London to be able to dive into those little smaller pockets of subcultures and scenes. So yeah, I'm sure there is. Like in a lot of cities, it's just digging around and finding the right little niche area.
I'm the same way, Susan.
That's probably partly it, because I never lived in London. It was more just I'd go there for a week or 2 weeks, and it was always like sort of music related thing. And I feel like I really found my feet with all that in Brighton, and it's the same sort of thing. There's this network of musicians, and you get to know everybody from the 80-year-old busker on the street to people who are coming up. And
oh, that sounds amazing, Dark Matter. That sounds really nice. Live in York. Oh, okay.
The 80-year-old busker on the street to people who are coming up and starting in their new bands and stuff, and it's just really nice to be part of a community that feels like it's lifting each other up, and yeah, you do get the odd people slagging each other off as well, but I suppose that's all part of the parcel.
All part of the fun, I think.
Yeah, man. Yeah, of course. Good little.
And if you can escalate that to a full-on feud once you make it, that's the really fun stuff.
Yeah, nice. No, I can't wait for that. I want a musical arch nemesis. No, I want a musical arch nemesis. You know, like a Sherlock style. Just because I feel like they spur you on. I don't feel like I've got that yet.
Yeah. Who would be your
Sherlock style arch nemesis? Who would Ren's arch nemesis be? He's too nice. He can't even have one. He destroys all of his enemies with kindness. Hey, Miriam.
Or Moriarty then? Who are you looking for?
Moriarty.
I don't feel like I've got that yet.
Yeah. Who would be your Moriarty then? Who are you looking for?
Oh, I don't know. I'm not sure who it is yet. I don't want to pick someone in case or maybe that's the good thing to do, because then it'll just plant a seed.
I think you should, because then they'll be thrilled, because you basically define each other in that instance, don't you? I mean, Blur without Oasis wouldn't be the same thing, you know, and vice versa. And back in the 80s, it was Wet versus Broth.
King, no, it's got to be someone close to Ren's level, like at least close. King Dada is not close. M. I could actually, I could see that. You guys, if M and Ren got in a beef, you know M would not hold back about Ren's like disease and struggle, and like M would find a way to poke the bear there. That would be interesting. I feel like M would have too much respect for Ren. I think you would think if he actually like listened to some of his catalog.
Do you remember? You're way back in the 80s. It was Wet 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 versus Bros. Do you remember? You're way too young to remember that, but that was one I grew up with.
Yeah, I'm gonna have a think on it. Then I'm gonna pick someone. I'm just gonna start mercilessly bitching about them in everything that I do. I'm just gonna be like, you know who I fucking hate. Yeah, that's what I'm gonna start to do.
Yeah. And then do like a really awkward collaboration with them in a few years.
Yeah, where all the bad blood is some, but then yeah, of course.
Yeah. It'll be a beautiful moment. There's a movie in there somewhere. You know when you were saying that you were shaking like a leaf when you first performed, are you talking about when you were doing busking or like when you were playing with the band?
Yeah, so that was I suppose actually the first time I was 13 years old and there was this house band at this gig that I went to and I was kind of thrown in the deep end a little bit and I was into this really sort of like emo band called AFI at the time and they had this song called Morning Star. They were kind of like post-punk, very emo. And
is that short for A Fire Inside?
That's the band. Yeah, this singer Davey Havoc. He's got like yourself. He's got an incredible range, like high end range. And they had this song called Morning Star, and that was the first song I ever performed live. And actually, I think that one went quite well. It was my first experience where I really like lost my nerve. Actually, no, the second one as well. I wrote a song about the fact that my mate, because the first songs that I used to write were all just basically taking the piss out of my mates, and I think that was a bit of a defense mechanism because for me, if a song wasn't serious, it couldn't really be judged on how good it is because it's meant to be crap. So all the songs that I used to write, one of them snuck its way onto my first album, which was Streetlights, which I wrote when I was like 15 or 16, but it was just songs that were basically they didn't really take themselves seriously. And the second song I took, my mate Chris, who is my mate Steve's older brother, he was old enough to go and buy us alcohol when we were little despicable youths, and he was a massive lightweight, and all of us were, you know, little teenagers who could drink more than him, and I wrote a song about him being a massive lightweight, and that was the second song I performed live. But again, there was confidence within the silliness of it. But the first time I went busking,
right, Bon Jovi, they both have guitars in the background even.
Again, there was confidence within the silliness of it. But the first time I went busking, I remember it's just to turn up. I didn't have an amp at the time. Like a busking amp, and I just, you know, I sat myself down on the street. There's a street, and it's quite a daunting thing just to like, because when you first do it, now that I take to it like water, and I'm almost more.
You might be right about that, Dark Matter. You might be right.
A daunting thing just to like, because when you first do it, now that I take to it like water, and I'm almost more confident in front of a mic than I am off it, but. Back then, it's quite a daunting thing to suddenly just look out into the abyss of a crowd and then just start to. Sing and express yourself. So the first time I did that, I was nervous, but I obviously wasn't nervous enough for it to put me off, because that quickly became. It's an odd one because I've played quite big shows now, but there's something about busking that I still absolutely love, and I think it's just the fact that you can reach such a diverse, like you could reach an 80-year-old woman going out to. Nipping out to get some tea bags to like a toddler, to the sorts of people who would turn up at your gigs. And
I think the thing about busking is that it's the opposite of doing your own show in the sense that you haven't got a captive audience. It's literally just people who are walking around, and you have to engage on a. I don't know. You have to find a way to connect, don't you, with people who just have no inclination. They didn't come out looking for music, you know.
That's it, and they're stopping from their own free will. Then they don't have to be like at a gig. You know, you've bought the ticket, you're there. But the people that stop on the street, they're only really stopped by your level of your, I guess, ability to engage as just a street full of people. And I don't
know if that's free will if you stop and watch Ren. I feel like that's just destiny. Like you can't fight fate like that. You see Ren busking on the street, there's no free will involved. You are stuck watching him, man. There's no free will involved.
Really addicted to that, and I'm almost beyond that. I got addicted to the psychology of it, that okay, if two people stop, that enables a lot of other people to feel like it's safe to stop. It's like the thing, I don't know if I love looking into the psychology of people witnessing other people perform. That was it's why in those talent shows, they show somebody gasping or crying, and then all of a sudden there's this thing that's ignited in your brain that makes you almost start to tear up just because you've seen somebody else. There's a word for it.
Are you talking about a collective hysteria, like the thing that used to make girls and women scream at Beatles concerts in the 60s?
I guess that. So it's called mirror neurons. Sorry, yeah, it's called mirror neurons. So it's applicable in lots of different other areas other than just performing. But yeah, that's exactly it. Like somebody sees something behaving a certain way, and because we're creatures of community,
you get sucked into the Ren vortex. Yup, into the eye of the storm. He has his own gravitational field.
See, then we start mirroring those behaviors. So if you see somebody watch something and tear up, you start to tear up and go, bloody hell, but your thoughts of this is so emotional. But yeah, so what I noticed is when you're performing and busking, say the second you get more than a couple of people stopping, and it maybe takes a little while to get those 1-2 people to stop, but once they've stopped, you've got a crowd. Before you know it, it's a crowd of 30 people, it's a crowd of 50 people, it's a crowd of 100 people, and it's I find that stuff quite fascinating.
And do you, when it's like
hey Cam, that's so true though, what he's saying, like the mob mentality, the mirror neurons, that's real stuff, man. That's real stuff.
A group of say 2 or 3,
not mob mentality, but like, you know what I mean, like once you see a bunch of people doing something, it's easier for you to go do that same thing as opposed to you doing it solely.
People. And do you, when it's like a group of say 2 or 3 people, do you really focus on them ones, or are you looking to expand?
Yeah, and I like to perform. It doesn't matter really how many people are witnessing it. It's for me, even if nobody's there, I kind of still want to. I feel like I owe it to the performance to still give the same performance, yeah, and because I was never really one to be swung by, or someone goes, "Oh, this important person's here. You've got to really fucking do a good job." I've never really been
a showcase situation.
Yeah, exactly. I never really liked the pressure of those showcase situations, because I've been in a few of those scenarios. I just and I think again that's why I like busking, is because it's just everyday humans. There's no expectation, and also you can make a song last for 10 minutes if you want out there as well. It's not like everything to the queue, and
they're not going to ask for their money back, are they?
No, exactly. If people don't like it, they can just bugger off, and that's fine. Yeah. I just really, I love it.
I think there's something about what did you say it was, the mirror neurons?
Mirror neurons. I think that's it. Yeah.
That's a really interesting expression, which I've never heard before. But when I'm doing when I do a gig and it's a support slot, you're looking out at a room full of faces that are just going, that's not Guns N' Roses, or whoever it happens to be that you're supporting, and there can be a level of disdain, some eye rolls and oh God, looking at the watches. But there's always like 1 or 2 people that are into it. And I tend to sort of...
No, not yet, Sheila. No. I think this was like a year ago. I think this interview was like a year ago. Yeah, it was posted a year ago.
Anchored the attention, or the direction of my performance to those little pockets of people that do it, and I find that when I do that mirror neuron thing expands those little pockets, and then if you do your job properly, there's a possibility you can get the whole crowd, or at least a good percentage of it. And I think that's something that I do that in a cynical way to try and win the day, really.
No, it makes sense. There's this beautiful video on YouTube of it's at a festival, and then it's this.
No, I haven't, Spot. I haven't.
It makes sense. There's this beautiful video on YouTube of it's at a festival, and then it's this one lone crazy person starts to get up and dance. You might have seen it. It went viral, I think. And then it takes a while for just one other person to join them. But then, as the time progresses, by the end of the video, you've got a whole bunch of people up in this vacant spot in a field dancing. But it just took that one person to be ballsy enough to get up and do it. And I guess it's the same thing. Yeah, if you've got a couple of people vibing, it just kind of enables a lot of people. Because if you've just got a room full of people with their arms crossed going, oh, fucking...
That which sounds like every industry showcase that I've ever...
Yeah.
Hey, Sir Tap. Thanks for being here, man.
Then that is gonna expand onward. But I like that as well. I like a good challenge in those uncomfortable situations where you've got, because I remember every musician's been through it when you first start and you're singing in a pub and nobody really gives a shit that you're there and you're trying to. There's this because most musicians are massive attention seekers. I definitely fall into that category, and you're trying to.
As do I, my friend.
Yeah. And you're trying to, and it feels so frustrating when you're bearing your soul and everybody's just, they want to finish their chips. And so I found that a bit of a challenge to, like, how do I break through this noise without presenting myself in this frustrated way where I'm actually more just trying to bring people in, and I guess that's the skill of being a performer, because then you learn how to do it in more positive ways rather than just feeling angry at people for not looking at you.
So your first instrument is guitar then, presumably, right?
It is indeed, yeah.
And I wanted to ask you if you had any flamenco background somehow, because I sometimes hear some Angulican, or what is it called? Angulation. I've forgotten what it's called now. Some weird intervals in there that you hear in flamenco.
Yeah.
Playing.
Hey, Pixie. Thanks for being here. Nice to see you. Glad you're here.
Forgotten what
Ren is trolling on Threads. What does that mean? Oh no, he posted more stuff?
it's called now. Some weird intervals in there that you hear in flamenco.
Yeah.
Playing.
No, I don't. It's always been a. Because I haven't had lessons either, so I was always, and anytime.
Yes, Garden, this is live.
It's always been a, because I haven't had lessons either, so I was always, and anytime I attempted to, I think I've had 2 lessons in my life that I attempted, and both times I
Zach Song, yeah, we watched the Zach Song interview, my last live that I did, or 2 lives ago, I can't remember now, but we watched that one. If you didn't catch it and you want to watch it with us, it's on my live tab.
Anytime I attempted to, I think I've had 2 lessons in my life that I attempted, and both times it didn't really work. It just, I don't know if there's something about my mind that didn't work.
Why? Because you have a solid idea of what you want to do.
I just think I think it's just the ADHD-ness, because you're set homework, and it's the same with school, man. Whenever I was set homework, I was shit at completing it. So they go, right, take this and prepare this for the next lesson. By the time the next lesson come along, I hadn't done it. For me, self-inspired learning works really well. So I'm able to sit down and, in a sense, YouTube has been my teacher, because I've sat down and I've watched loads of YouTube videos, because I've gone, I want to get this technique down, so I Google it, and there's a teacher, and I find one that I.
Yo, thank you, Spot. Not related to this, just a thank you, as I have really enjoyed sharing your Ren journey, so a chance to let you know. Oh, thank you, Spot. Thank you so much, man. That means a lot to me. It really does. I really, really appreciate that, man. I am, as some of you might know, I'm in between jobs. I'm kind of trying to make this online lane work here. I'm streaming on Twitch. I stream video games on Twitch. By the way, if anybody has a Twitch, go follow me on Twitch. I have the same username as on YouTube. We've got a nice little community starting there. But like, that means so much to me, Spot. Thank you. That's very helpful at this specific time. Thanks, man. Thank you. That's very helpful at this time in my life, for real. That means a lot.
Resonate with, and I sit on, I want to get this technique down, so I Google it, and there's a teacher, and I find one that I resonate with, and I sit down and I learn it through that. And a lot of the time it was, I'd listen to, when I first started, I was listening to Hendrix or Frusciante records, just slow down, and I'd just stay there with my guitar.
Hey, yeah, Bon Jovi. Hey, if you, I've been streaming on Twitch lately, so if you have a Twitch, go follow me over there, or you could make a Twitch and follow me over there. And if anybody has Amazon Prime, Twitch and Amazon are like linked, so you could actually use you get a free subscription every month if you have Amazon Prime. And so if you have Amazon Prime, you should make a Twitch account.
And I guess I just work out my own way.
Oh, thank you, Garden. Thanks so much.
Of playing those techniques, and in the guitar,
all right, let me go back a little bit.
Hendrix or Frusciante records, just slow down, and I just stay there with my guitar, and I guess I just work out my own way of playing those techniques. And in the end, I guess it is theory, but I see patterns when I play the guitar. Same with the piano. I don't. My theory's actually quite bad, but I see patterns on the, and I guess if you were to expand those patterns mathematically, it would make sense in the world of theory. It's just that that's how my brain's interpreting it. And in terms of the
weird, give an example of a pattern.
Well, it's like, you know, with time I learned the pentatonic.
You follow 700 plus people on YouTube since finding Ren? Wow. Wow. Dude, thank you again. But I can't thank you enough, man. That's so nice. Thank you so much.
Well, it's like, you know, with time I learned the pentatonic scale, like every musician does. But before I knew that was the pentatonic scale, it was just that I knew this note. You know, like there's this shape that's almost like this. It's almost like Wales, the shape of or England in the way, because it's got its little arm sticking out, and then it's got its two little feet sticking out, and then the rest of it is a box. So that's kind of how I see it. I see the shape of what it is, rather than understanding that this semitone makes sense with this one, and this is why it mathematically makes sense. My brain isn't very good at working like that. But in terms of like the dissonant intervals and stuff, it was more I'm very good at hearing the melody in my head before it's played. And I love those really dissonant Stravinsky style intervals where it just feels a little bit jarring and then resolves nicely. And for me, it was just more of a case of I hear it in my head and then I fuck around with the fretboard until I make it, and then I work out the most ergonomic, efficient way to play it so my fingers don't have to travel the furthest distance. So it's less so theory, it's more just a lot of trial and error until it feels right. Which is probably a longer way to do it. If I understood theory, it'd probably be a lot quicker. But it's just the way that I've always done it, I guess.
I'm only just starting to realise the importance of theory, or, you know, I put that in inverted commas, actually. Because I was never really familiar with it. I think I sort of taught myself a lot in the same way that you have, you know, just trying stuff out.
Did you just call them inverted commas instead of apostrophes? Is this what British people say, man? British people say inverted commas? They're called apostrophes, man.
Never really familiar.
Or wait. Quotes. No, apostrophe is single. Or quotes. Whatever. I'm going to start saying inverted commas. I like that better. He's such a genius. He really is. Yeah, not that YouTube actually serves anyone I'm subscribed to, right?
I put that in inverted commas, actually. Because I was never really familiar with it. I think I sort of taught myself a lot in the same way that you have, you know, just trying stuff out. And
oh, thanks, Miriam.
I would always listen to things and then try and do it, but then I'd only be interested in the tricks. You know, I want to know the flashy stuff.
Of course.
Inverted commas. I'm gonna start saying that. I gotta start saying that.
Then I'd only be interested in the tricks. You know, I want to know the flashy stuff.
Of course.
And then, you know, after that, work backwards.
You
and
cheeky
now
buggers.
Now I love economical guitar playing.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, I'm hoping my brain settles down and lands in the same place. But but I don't know. For me, it's always been. I think because I started young as well, and because I just always playing guitar and took it everywhere. It's because people are like, oh, but how do you do this and how? And it's more like you ask them, well, how do you speak English? You know, I've been doing it for so long that it feels so second nature now that I don't really know how to explain it. Just like I wouldn't know how to explain how I'm constructing a sentence with these similes and things that make sense and have to follow this. Like the rules, I don't really understand, but I just know that I can do it. And there was a sentence I heard that you should learn the rules in order to break them, so that you can create something new. But I suppose if you've never learned the rules, you don't even know that you're breaking them, so it's a lot easier to do it.
Yeah, well, the rules, if you don't know what the rules are, then they clearly don't apply to you in the first place. You know?
Yeah.
And there shouldn't be any rules. I think that's actually the truth of it.
But then I do to kind of be devil's advocate, I do also understand the benefits of, if I did understand it, I'm sure that I would be a much more proficient player. So I do understand. I'm not to say it's all crap and fucking, because some people's brains really work well in that way and they can pull it off amazingly. And there's part of me that envies that as well.
Yeah, but you know your way around the fretboard, which is the most important thing. I'm just interested in whether you're probably a bit like me. I don't like mucking around with alternate tunings and stuff, because I think if I do that, then suddenly my whole understanding of like the patterns and the shapes and the places that I'm used to putting my fingers, they're just not going to make the sound that I'm expecting to hear. I can't work like that. You know? I need to sort of be able to play and sing along with what I'm doing. You know, like I always do this kind of stuff. Like you know. And I know exactly what my fingers are going to do, and I can sing along to it, and then in anticipation. You change the tuning, and it's just never going to be like that.
Yeah. So the only time I mess around with the tuning really is if I'm writing something. So I did it with High Ren. But if there's a note that I can't reach in the standard EADGBE tuning, I will just drop whatever string it is to make sure that economical finger placement makes sense. So the tunings aren't so much like a dadgad or a established tuning. It's more just like, if that I need to change one string and make that make sense within the context of what I'm playing, then yeah, I'll just do it to suit it, basically.
Yeah, I know a bass player that just won't learn songs. He just has his tech retune everything so it's all just open strings. And then he just goes like this, just points at people. Hey, hello ladies, how you doing? Nice to see you tonight. Yeah, that kind of stuff, which is a good system as well. Isn't it? There's no rules. No, that's the thing. There's no rules.
Yeah.
So I've got a couple of things here in my preparation document.
Okay.
So it says here that you were misdiagnosed with ME.
Yeah.
What does that stand for?
Myocephalitis. Oh, it's got one of those. Even though that I carried this diagnosis for so.
Is it just me, or should Justin have looked that up before the interview? Like, why are you asking Ren what it means? You should have looked that up. I feel like it's one of those questions that, like, Justin already knows the answer, but he's asking Ren anyways, which is also kind of like speech marks.
Myocephalitis. Oh, it's got one of those. Even though that I carried this diagnosis for so long, I never learned how to pronounce. Encephalitis is the last word. Like what I'm doing.
Encephalitis. That's because that's a brain inflammation of some sort, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. Hang on. I think it's myalgic. Let me. Myalgic. It is myalgic. Myalgic encephalomyelitis. They've given it a name that makes you tired even saying it, which is ironic. Yeah. So myalgic encephalomyelitis, but ME. So chronic fatigue syndrome is what it's kind of. Because they always say ME/CFS, which is chronic fatigue, which I suppose, in a way, is a much simpler way of describing the base level symptoms, but the symptoms that come with it, as far as I understand, I mean, you've got it's not just fatigue. Fatigue is probably one of the most horrible symptoms. It's like complete neurological, like brain fog that comes with it. A lot of people that have experienced like post-COVID stuff I guess will relate to that. There's pain, there's disorientation, there's a hangover feeling, or just a feeling of flu, a feeling of fullness in your limbs, and a fatigue that feels like you haven't slept in about 10 days on end, that never goes away. No matter how much you sleep, it's just always there.
And the encephalitis part of it, does that affect like thought patterns as well? I mean, I know this isn't...
It affects everything, and it also comes in waves. For anyone who's experienced it, it's so some days it'll be slightly better, and that's why I think people can't really understand it. And because it's inside you, also as well, you look relatively normal from the outside. And 100%, it affects composition of thought. So even stringing on my worst days, like stringing together normal sentences, I developed a tick and a stutter on my worst when I was in the thick of it. But just thinking about even day-to-day tasks or doing any kind of logical thought process, and then having spontaneous creative thought becomes very hard as well. So a lot of people that go through depersonalization, which means you essentially lose your personality, because without spontaneous thought, we are just machines, really. We're able to answer, how is your day going? Yes, no, would you like this for food? But in terms of like coming up with what makes us, I think, individuals, is our ability to spontaneously communicate things that someone else might not have, which makes us unique. And you lose a lot of that, I think, when your brain is on survival mode, because I think it just uses resources for what it needs to get through the day, but everything else, it just becomes weighed down by inflammation, essentially, in your body.
And then that turned out to be actually Lyme's disease.
Yeah, so it's such a complex area, because I think we're still on the precipice of understanding what these chronic illnesses mean. Because for me, I think that ME, rather than misdiagnosis, is more of a symptom, because they still don't really know the cause of ME. There's not enough research for them to be able to say,
Yeah, chalk outlines, depersonalization. I could see that. Yep.
Because they still don't really know the cause of ME. There's not enough research for them to be able to say definitively this is why people enter a state. Some people think it's a post-viral thing caused by the Epstein-Barr virus. Some people think that it could be mold poisoning. It could be an autoimmune thing. Like I think that there's probably all of these answers could be true, which means I think that it's actually a symptom of something bigger that's going on that's caused the body to just go into absolute shutdown mode. Because post-COVID, people experience a lot of the very same symptoms like fatigue, just brain fog that won't go away. And so I think that I do probably have ME as well, if that makes sense. I feel like that's a symptom of, and maybe Lyme disease was the catalyst. So they found antibodies to Lyme disease, which is this bacteria you can get from a tick, in my blood much later on in my journey, which was probably the thing that set it off. And the thing that was frustrating for me, that if you catch Lyme disease within this first month window of getting it, you only need to take a 2-week course of antibiotics and you're cured most of the time. So I think.
And how do you know you got it in those early stages then?
Yeah, that sucks that he lived with that for so long, man, undiagnosed. Oh, it's his blessing and curse, as I heard someone say, because it's that experience of going through that for so many years that brought us the Ren that we know today. There's no doubt that he would at least not be the same if he hadn't gone through that. Who's to say if he would be better or worse musically or artistically, but he wouldn't be the same, at least. And I think we can all agree that would be a bit of a shame, because Ren is pretty amazing.
And I mean, assuming that you, how can you be aware of that?
Nobody thought to test for it for me until until probably about 8 years too late, or 6 or 8. It's hard to know exactly when I got it, but it's a progressive disease, so the symptoms get worse and worse over time, and the more time it's left, the more. And that was definitely my experience. Is that I started.
Difficult it is to deal with it once it's taken hold, or is it
exactly? So when we actually got round to finding it, this is cutting a very long story very short. By the time I treated it, I was just left with basically a messed up immune system that had learned a lot of bad habits and a lot of autoimmunity, a lot of damage to my nervous system, to my organs, and with this condition called mast cell activation disorder, which is where your cells overreact, and I became allergic to a lot of things, and it's particularly sensitive to histamine and things like that. But it's a minefield. It's a minefield, really is.
And histamine is the thing that you get with allergies, isn't it?
It is, yeah. Except so mast cell activation disorder is when your body it reacts massively to histamine and it can't process it. So all of those allergy symptoms, you start reacting to everything from. I can be, if somebody walks in this and they've got like a strong smelling perfume or aftershave on, I can suddenly start feeling like I'm hungover. It's really bizarre.
It's a good thing we're doing this remotely, because I'm drenched.
You're drenched. I'm sure you are a fine smelling young man. But yeah, so at the moment I live on a diet of about 5 things. So I eat fresh meat, cooked, and I eat a very limited amount of vegetables, courgettes, squash. And a few other things, and if I eat anything else, again, I wouldn't be able to sit here talking to you if I had a bowl of cereal this morning, for example. And it's not just as simple as like a gluten or dairy intolerance. You become intolerant to everything, and so I've had to live within a very.
Yeah, Shelly, this is Ren's Justin Hawkins interview. I just haven't seen it yet, so I'm reacting to it. He did dye his hair blonde for that. And he did that like casting call. I actually thought about it for half a second, and then I was like, wait, I'm not flying over to Europe. I'm not going to buy like vampire clothes. But that was pretty cool. He did like a casting call for people with like the Matrix or Blade type clothes, and then he dyed. There's a picture I saw of him with his hair dyed, wearing like a leather jacket, like a Blade type. Sorry that y'all are going through some of that, by the way. Yeah, garden, that sucks.
Gluten or dairy intolerance, you become intolerant to everything. And so I've had to live within a bit of a bubble in terms of what I expose myself to. But this treatment here, I'm on a lot of mast cell blockers like ketokefian, chromalin, and some other things. And they help suppress these reactions, and the goal is to be able to return to a normal, healthy diet.
That'd be great. I mean, it sounds pretty healthy. I mean, just probably not very.
I just thought I'm not fly enough.
Exciting.
Well, so it's this thing called the paleo diet, which is it's based on Paleolithic. I think that's how you say it. So the caveman diet, because we were all. It's funny that
the Paleolithic era. Paleolithic.
This is the diet that works for me because it makes biological sense. So like, we're all evolved. Basically, our industries evolved faster than our bodies did. So, taking grain, making mass-produced foods, human evolution only happens at a certain speed. So, I think it's why a lot of people are now in the modern world developing a lot of illnesses and a lot of this autoimmunity, because when you go back to eating like a caveman would, which is like hunter-gatherer, you get your meat, you get your nuts, you get your vegetables from the land around you that sustains you. There are less reactions. So a lot of these people with autoimmune disease, when they go to these sorts of diets, they feel a lot better. And it kind of makes sense because our bodies have evolved to accommodate those sorts of diets, not really evolved to accommodate lots of overly processed diets. So I guess it makes sense in that regard, yeah.
Man, in that respect, it's scary to think about what technology is doing to us, because that is just changing at an astronomical pace relative to any type of evolutionary. Like, humans are... I've heard it said by biologists that humans are basically done evolving. We are like... There's too many people on Earth. It's too, like... We're basically not evolving at all because there's just so many of us, and like the chance for any type of evolution to happen is there's too much cushion to keep everybody alive now. Like, yeah, there's not really like any natural selection going on at this point. But what technology is doing, because we still have, like Ren is saying, we still basically have caveman brains. Like, it's interesting to see what the next few generations are going to be like, because I feel like I'm one of the last generation of like millennials are one of the last generations where like smartphones came out when I was like basically an adult. Like, I grew up with the best I had was like a little Nokia brick phone when I was like 15. But like now kids have got tablets. You'll see like parents with their 3 or 4-year-old out at a restaurant, and they're like glued to their tablet playing like just super colorful games and getting rewards with amazing sounds, and like, I don't know, it's just like, what is this gonna do? You just wonder what it's gonna do to our poor little caveman brains. We didn't have a landline when I grew up. Hey, I had to string the landline from our phone all halfway across the house and plug it into our computer so I could get on the internet, dial up to the internet. I feel you though, man. I feel you. My dad was pretty old. He passed away a few years ago, but I remember him saying like he remembers when they finally got a colored TV. He was like, yeah, it's crazy. And then people's grandparents, they remember that times when there was no TV. I can't imagine what the world is going to be like in 30, 40 years. No one could have predicted what it's like now from 40 years ago, and like it's only changing exponentially. Pretty soon no one's going to have phones anymore. We're going to have like glasses or contact lenses or like helmets or something. Like, I don't know. We're going to have personal robots that wait on us. We're going to have like AI companions that we can't tell the difference between if it's a real person or not. Like, the future is a scary but intriguing place, I would say.
overly processed diet. So I guess it makes sense in that regard, yeah.
Okay, that was a weird tangent we went off on, but that's okay.
Of overly processed diet. So I guess it makes sense in that.
All right, see you, Frosh. Thanks for being here, man.
In that regard, yeah.
Grew up with black and white TV and a landline. Nice. Kids on Snapchat and scrolling TikTok all day. I know, it can't be good. It's just teaching your brain like instant satisfaction and like constant hits of dopamine. I don't know, man. Implants, yeah. I don't know. It's gonna be a weird. It's gonna be a weird future. Tangents are welcome. It's gonna be a weird future.
Yeah, I suppose it's just keeping it simple. Actually,
I feel like some kind like humanoid robots are coming. And who wouldn't want a little thing like a little robot slave that just does your laundry and your dishes and like cooks you food, can make you the best food, cleans up your house. Like who wouldn't pay a lot for one of those? Like everybody would end up having one if it became, it's just like a car. Like almost everybody has a car. Man, the robot slaves cannot come soon enough. I am so sick of doing laundry and cleaning the kitchen. Can we please make these robots happen?
Actually, isn't it? I mean,
that's it, man.
You know,
keep it
simple. Just hunter-gatherer. I mean, berries.
Without actually hunting, I'm not going out there with a spear and spearing myself.
It's optional, that part.
Yeah. Probably quite frowned upon.
And then, so when you were
oh, you helped people develop infrared therapy? That's really cool. Back in the old days, they called that a wife. Uh-oh, Dez. Uh-oh. You're on very thin ice with that statement there. I'm not going to touch that one.
Quite frowned upon.
And then, so when you were first diagnosed, is that because it says on here that that Sony Records decided to relieve you of your contractual obligations because they didn't think you were.
So there's a bit of a, because it's funny, you know, when you start reading comments about yourself on the internet and people run with these narratives and then they become.
And then after a while you stop. Yeah.
yeah. And people run with it. So it wasn't as sinister as, because I read some comments like Sony found out that Ren had mental health problems and then dropped him, which really wasn't how it panned out. I was working with an amazing guy called Eric Papale who did the defamation of Strickland Banks, that not the first Plan B record, but the Plan B record that went massive and made him huge for. He was on top of the.
That's the one where he started singing more kind of Motown
soul Motown stuff. Yeah, and Eric was a big contributor to that, and so Eric spotted me.
So is he an A&R guy or is he like a producer?
No, he's just a brilliant musician, man.
You guys hearing a weird audio, like when like Justin starts talking over Ren, there's like a weird audio thing going on, like it like cuts one of their audios out.
So is he an A&R guy or is he like a producer?
No, he's just a brilliant musician, man. He's a producer, so he's and a very good human being as well. But he was walking past while I was busking when I was 18, 19 years old, and I was busking one of my own songs, and he was just like, "Man, your lyrics are incredible. I'd love to take you to London and make an album with you." And we started the process of doing that. And then Sony took it. They were a subsidiary of Sony, so they were a sub-label of Sony, and Sony took that on board, and we signed a contract, and we were working on this album. And then halfway through this album, I became very, very sick, and I was almost like pretending I wasn't sick because this is my whole. You know, up until I was 10 years old, it was like this thing that was
echo in Ren's room. Okay, yeah, that might be it because he probably has speakers playing the audio.
Manifested, and the thing that you said, like I was doing all these industry showcases and all that stuff, and people were like, you know, it's going next big thing, and all this stuff was happening, and I was in the process of making this album, and I was just so. This is when the symptoms started, and I was feeling dissociated, tired. Pain started happening in my body, and there were times where I'd be in the studio and I'd do a take and I'd excuse myself to go to the bathroom.
Right? Yeah. Come on, Ren. You're the musician. You should know about feedback and stuff.
When
I'm just kidding.
There was one time I threw up blood and then just pretended that it hadn't happened, and I came back and I carried on doing the take without letting anybody know. And there were other times where I'd have these industry...
What? Ren, you gotta go... Well, I mean, he's seen doctor for it, but, like... That's a pretty big deal. You can't just be puking up blood. What?
Showcase, and I'd be in the backseat of a car crying, and I'd be sleeping, and then I'd get off there, brush it all off, and get on stage. But it came to a point. I was managed by a guy called Andrew Mancy at the time, who had done the Chemical. I think he'd been a manager of the Chemical Brothers. There was a point where I started breaking down on stage as well, because I was just so weak. Like even standing and singing on stage became this massive. And people started obviously noticing this, and I think there was a time where Eric was like, you need to take some time out, and so I did that, and I was very aware, and I took time out of making this album, which was a really difficult thing to do. I went to live with my mum, and it was intentionally only going to be for 3 months, but I didn't end up getting out of bed for a whole year after that, and about 6 months into that, it was a very mutual conversation between me and Eric. At the time, running through Sony with this contract, I was just like, I don't think I've got it in me to do this, and Eric understood it, and we parted ways, and it wasn't so much that it was a dropping, it was more that contract expired, because there are a certain amount of years, and that was very early. That was maybe 2001, and I probably didn't really have much of a life then up until 2006, 2007. So so it was just, these terms of the contracts of maybe 3 years or something like that. It just the time passed, and it never happened, and it was heartbreaking, man, because in my head I was like, but this is my prime, early 20s. Everybody always tells you that this is the best time to do all this stuff, and so it was really difficult. Like I was pretty sure that was my chance, and it had come and gone, and more so the more time that elapsed, the more it felt like that, and then when I started making the Freckled Angels album, which was it, the Freckled Angels album was actually half of the tracks that I made with Eric, and I remember messaging him one day, years later, and asking him if I could use the tracks, and he was just like, "Go for it," which is really nice of him. He didn't expect anything in return, and I still there's still part of me that feels I haven't reached out to him since back then, because there was a part of me that felt almost like a guilt for letting them down, for having so much belief in me and pouring so much time into me.
Oh, I don't reach into the past very much. These shards of shattered glass and harsh paper cuts. Yeah.
And them down for having so much belief in me and pouring so much time into me. And I felt immensely guilty for not finishing that project, and I did feel...
You shouldn't feel guilty though, because I think like the whole nature of the traditional music trade is that people like him will invest a lot of time in a lot of artists that they believe in, like yourself, and then some of them are going to fly, some of them will not, for a million different reasons. Most of them won't, and they only need like one to fly to justify the corner office. They're going to be okay.
No, of course, and it's not that he was struggling for money in any sense, because I guess there was the defamation and he did a lot of, he was responsible behind Daniel Bedingfield and a lot of other people's amazing production, but it was, I think it was just more that there was so much belief and excitement in that recording process, and it wasn't really that I had let him down through my ability. That's what I was frustrated by. It was this insidious outside force that I had no control over that just ruined everything. And it was for a long time. It took me a while. And when I started making the Freckled Angels album, when I got, I guess, myself to a point with my health where I could still record, I was still spending every day in the bedroom, but I had my music set up in my bedroom. I couldn't really leave my house at this point, but I decided I'd pretty much at this point, in my head I was like, I'm probably not going to live to see 30, so I'd like to do something that I feel, I've always known that I've had this potential to contribute musically to the world. I like to make this, even if it's only my mates that see it. I want to finish this Freckled Angels album. So that's what I did. I used half the tracks that we did back in those early days, and then I produced things like Crutch and Make My Way and Dominoes and a few things just by myself in my bedroom, and I threw together this like 16-track album which I self-released, and it did modestly okay. It was really just my friends streaming it. Now it's seeing a lot more views because everything else has become successful, but and then I just self-put it out there, just thinking like, this is going to be my contribution, and I'll probably die in a few years. And yeah. So,
it's all about legacy. That's the recorded medium. It's your legacy, isn't it?
That's it. Yeah, and
it's actually pretty healthy to think like that sometimes. It's like, because when it comes to the many demands on our time as artists and people who want to talk to us in any context, really, it's like everything that you do, you have to decide whether it's content or art. And the stuff that's art, that's really your legacy. The rest of it is completely disposable. And it's just the way you communicate the fact that you do art to the rest of the world, isn't it? So that stuff's important. I mean, I think when you have...
Yeah. I feel like that's super important in art. Like, you want it to be your legacy, and you want to have in mind that, like, you want it to be something that, like, if you die tomorrow, you'll be proud of it. I feel like that's something that you can take into, like, each and every day of your life. Like the saying, live every day like it's your last. It's very true, man. Like, you never know when it might be. And life is so short and precious. You gotta... That's what makes Ren's music so good. Because he is putting everything into it, because he knows he might not be here for that long, or he at least respects... He's come to terms with his death. I've said that so many times. Like, yeah, it's just... It really makes his music on another level than most other artists.
To the rest of the world, isn't it? So that stuff's important. I mean, I think when you have like profound health issues, it does make you think more carefully about what you're going to be leaving behind. But everybody should think like that,
of course,
all the time.
Yeah. Because we are a finite creature.
I just said that.
Yeah. Because we are a finite creature. We will expire. All of us will. So like it's just that when it's very much in your periphery, and it could be any time in the immediate future, you start thinking about it a lot more. But the truth is, we're all it's a very bleak way to put it, but we're all just heading to our inevitable demise. So, but it was interesting. So I made this album. I put it out there. It felt really good to have that out there. I started posting it from my house to people that wanted it, and
I could tell, Pixie. I can tell that you do that. I love that about you.
The very manageable orders coming through, and then my health dipped again after that, really badly, and I went into full-blown psychosis. I guess is my brain's way of creating an alternate reality that was more explainable than my actual situation. So like I was, because it felt so unfair. Like there was no doctor could diagnose me what was going wrong. This was still before I knew I had Lyme disease, and also as well after the allopathic medicine had let me down, and there was nobody, because I must have gone to the doctors hundreds of times being like, please just test my blood for something else, there's something going wrong. I had this gut feeling, and they kept going, Ren, look, we've spent a lot of money, the NHS spent a lot of money looking at your tests, there is nothing wrong with you, it's in your head. Like some doctors would even laugh at me for going, yeah, but I looked at this on Google, and they're like, oh, you're looking on Google, yeah. Like look,
Google snobbery. Yeah, doctors hate that, don't they?
Quite a patronising way, and So I, after the allopathic medicine let me down, and I'd gone through the mental health system, I'd been on various SSRIs, and
gosh, that's so brutal. That sucks. He's like begging doctors to figure out what's wrong with him, and they're like, it's all in your head, bud. Sorry. Stop trying to figure it out. You're making it worse.
Let me down, and I'd gone through the mental health system. I'd been on various SSRIs and like citalopram and whatever, and diazepam, and they hadn't worked, and so I started turning to the spiritual, because that's the only option I could see left, like or homeopathy, or weird. I've done some, not to call that weird, but I've done some weird things. I went to see shamans. I went to see exorcists. I went to see anything that I thought might work. And I was broke at the time as well. I come from a working class background. So all of this stuff was, I'd save up for months and do this one thing that I'd pin my hopes up, and then it wouldn't work. Or sometimes I'd convince a spiritual healer to see me for free and pour my heart out. And it's just like to take so many disappointment after disappointment after disappointment, it's really difficult to just carry on going. And I didn't really know at the time that all of these experiences was concealing some gold. But anyway, that all accumulated in just a massive breakdown. And I just went into this mode where I thought, this can't be anything other than demonic. And I was convinced that, because I couldn't figure out an explanation, so I was convinced that there must be some either sort of demonic entity possessing me or following me. And then beyond that, and that took me some weird places. I had conversation with Satanists and stuff like that. It's really weird, dark period in my life. And or I thought I was part of this experiment. And my psychosis manifested itself in this way that I was like, if I start acting in a way that's not expected of me, I can short circuit this reality. And I can break out of it. So I started doing really bizarre things. And that there was one time I stripped off butt naked, and I went and lay in the middle of a main road and started laughing in hysterics until the police showed up. And in my mind, that was like, this is what they expect the least. So this is going to help. And obviously none of it helped.
Oh my God.
But it was so funny. So during this psychosis, I started...
I've heard him tell this story before, but it's just so crazy every time I hear him say it.
Help. And obviously none of it helped, but it was so funny. So during this psychosis, I started manically, there was still part of me that was very lucid and present. I started manically looking up on the internet, and I found out about this condition called PANDAS, which is this condition a subsect of autistic kids has, caused by the streptococcal bacterial infection. And I was like, a lot of my symptoms look the same. So I convinced my mum to take me to a gastroenterologist, and I pretended that I had this gut pain, to which he would prescribe, and I said, "Oh, I've had this antibiotic before. I made up this lie, and I know that this one I get on really well with." So he prescribed me this short course of antibiotics, which was actually against the streptococcal bacteria. What I didn't know at the time was it also targets Lyme disease. I didn't know this at the time, but I was on a different tangent that actually took me to my diagnosis. I took this antibiotic, and all my symptoms went down by about 50% after 2-week course of taking this, and I was like, that's not placebo, because I've taken hundreds of supplements, hundreds of self-treated things on my journey to try and make myself better. This isn't placebo. I know this by now because I'm very familiar with the placebo effect. So I go, it didn't cure me, because after a while those symptoms came back. So I saved up money. I went to an infectious disease specialist in Brussels.
Hey, Havin. Thanks for being here.
I explained everything, my whole story, and he, without even testing my blood, he was like, "You've got Lyme disease, mate." And they tested my blood, and sure enough, antibodies to Lyme disease, positive. And that took me on another big journey to try and cure myself of Lyme, which is, yeah.
Wow. So, you're in Calgary now.
Yes.
That's part of your ongoing treatment, isn't it?
Yeah, so it was funny. So after I got that diagnosis, I was like, brilliant, how do we treat it? I can get better. That wasn't the case, because I took the antibiotics and my body was just damaged. It was messed up. So again, there was another heartbreak of like, I finally found the answer, but there's no solution anywhere. And so I started again. You join these communities, these subset communities online of loads of people with Lyme disease, and you wouldn't know this unless you had it. And there are they support each other. They're also trying cures, and people are doing wacky shit. People are stinging themselves with bees. People are, because it stimulates your immune system. People are doing, I did some weird things. I did this, the weirdest one I did was a fecal transplant, which is disgusting. You essentially take somebody else's business.
Oh, because of the enzymes that are in there.
It's because of the microbiome. So you're transporting somebody else's microbiome.
Do you know what? I saw that on an episode of House.
Yeah. So it's a thing. They cure ulcerative colitis. I've forgotten. I don't know how to say it.
Ulcerative colitis, I think.
And Crohn's disease is helped by it a lot. And so basically, you're introducing a whole new microbiome from another person through their poo into your ass. an enema, and went to this clinic and I did that, and it made me a lot worse. After saving up a lot of money,
you're full of somebody else's shit.
I'm full of shit. I'm sat here as a man full of shit and somebody else's shit, and yeah, that.
Full of somebody else's shit.
What do you expect?
I'm sat here as a man full of shit and somebody else's shit, and yeah, that didn't work. But so I started again. I started health blogging from my bed because I was like, you know what, I've got this answer.
Hey guys,
I'm probably not going to live. I just wanted to put out there my story so that and these videos you can still find online. But I started blogging, and I guess it's almost like I was just being. Sometimes I'd break down and cry. I'd tell my stories. I thought if I die, at least maybe someone else can see these videos and be helped, maybe not feel alone, or maybe a scientist will see it and say, oh shit, we need to take this. I want to devote my life to helping this. And luckily I was rewarded by a stem cell doctor, stumbled across it, and he, I guess, felt an affinity towards me. His son was a musician, and I got an email, and it's like, if you can get yourself to LA, I can cure you, and I've got this stem cell procedure, and we can cure you. So I asked my mum, I get enough money to get a flight. I end up staying with this guy called Chuck, because I don't have enough money. I was broke at the time. I don't have enough money to get a hotel or Airbnb. This guy called Chuck, who is a set designer for the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, funnily enough, but lovely couple. He was going through the treatment, the same treatment, because he had Lyme disease, and we went through this treatment together, and it was an experimental treatment, and I think that clinic since shut down because they had some lawsuits against them because.
Oh my gosh, G. That's crazy. Yeah, I think you're right, Kim. I think you're right. And Sput, it is difficult to imagine.
Some people weren't as lucky as me, and I knew going into it was experimental because I just had nothing to lose. And sure enough, I get home after like quite a grueling 12 weeks in LA, where I have this stem cell transplant, which is really barbaric the way they get it. It's liposuction, so they put a needle like this big into your back and they saw the fat out of you, and then they separate the stem cells, centrifuge them, and then put them back into you. I went home. And I started getting better, and it was amazing. Like, my energy started coming back. I started to notice that I was leaving the house. I got another stem cell transplant. They had 2 clinics, one in Frankfurt. I did another one. I came back, and within about a year, I was out on the streets playing music again. And this was about 2016. And the first song, this was the amazing thing, because I had like submitted to not ever having a music career again. I'd also submit to the fact that I probably wouldn't be alive at this point. So like, we put out this song, me and my mate Sam, we put out this song Blind Eyed, not really thinking much of it. It was one of the first videos we uploaded.
That's such a good song.
Or I'd uploaded in years, and it went viral straight away. And Warner picked up this record, and we put out this record. It wasn't like I think we got number 47 or something like that, which isn't for considering it was just like the first thing that I'd properly done since I'd basically submitted to not being alive anymore. It was just like this, such an affirming thing, because I'm like, no, I'm 27, and I thought this was all gone, and then with that, just like everything else followed, and it was beautiful, man.
I
Very
can't wait
beautiful.
for Fire in the News either.
Beautiful. 27 does feel like a late in life opportunity when it's music, doesn't it?
It's weird. It's weird. It's an ironic thing because
if you get to 19, if you haven't made it by the time you're 19, and you see people coming up who are 16, 17, who are just obviously going to be the next thing, you're like, well, fuck it, I'm going to go and work in a studio. That's how I felt.
Yeah.
You know? And for me, it didn't.
Yeah, there's also a poetic irony in it as well, because, and I thought about this a while ago. The 27 is the notorious age that the most of these artists die, and to be almost like reincarnated at this age felt kind of poignant, I suppose. Yeah, it was interesting.
But there's also something else to that as well. I think the music hits different when it comes from a place of complete resignation. Like if you have put this idea to one side that you're going to be a huge star, often the next stuff you do is the best stuff, because you're not thinking about a huge audience. You're not talking to a broad, batch of the masses. You're really doing a more authentic expression of what's going on inside your heart. And then what's going on inside your heart is, people can relate to that, regardless of how regionally specific you are, or how, even conditionally specific you are about like your illness or anything like that. People relate to those feelings, and it's like, if you're trying to write songs for the world, you're f***ed. If you're trying to write songs from the heart, you've got an opportunity that doesn't always present itself until you've given up,
100%. And I've never really, I think the more I've created, the less and less concerned I've been with that approach in terms of creating a formulaic, I need a catchy chorus, I need this to be a hit.
Hey, Mrs. Applegate. Thanks for popping in during your break.
Like the more creating a formulaic, I need a catchy chorus, I need this to be a hit. Like the more and more I've dipped my toes into doing exactly what I want, which is really more of leaning towards the things like I've done with the Tales or with Higher End, or these more conceptual.
Mrs. Applegate, you are doing something very important. You are doing a very important and all too often thankless job. You are educating the youth and the next people that are going to like carry the torch for humanity. You're doing something really important.
Really more of leaning towards the things like I've done with the Tales or with Higher End, or these more conceptual, unstructured pieces that just musically kind of just go where they want to, rather than for returning home or returning to a bridge. Those things for me, they excite me a lot more, and they're...
You're welcome. Just whenever you're feeling a little overwhelmed or down or anything, just try to remember that. You are super important.
Returning home or returning to a bridge, those things for me, they excite me a lot more, and they're the thing that gets me most inspired in the creative process. And the more it's funny, the less I've tried to cater to the masses, the more widely it's been accepted, which is a bit of a paradox.
But I do think that you are anomalous in that respect. Most people collaborate with somebody who's either driven by the need to be interesting or the need to sell as many records as possible. You find yourself in those sort of creative situations where there's an agenda, and it can be one of those two things or something in between. But when I listened to High Ren, I had no idea what to expect, and I was completely blown away. And it was
same. 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 Holy cow.
I had no idea what to expect, and I was
off to mold preteen minds. Yay, middle school. All right, see you, Mrs. Applegate. Best of luck.
Completely blown away, and it was really mesmerizing. And it's like, fucking hell, this guy's rejecting any semblance of trying to make a hit, and yet this is obviously going to be a hit. It's obvious. It resonates in a completely different way to anything else that's out there, and is brilliant in more than 3 ways. It's brilliant.
I appreciate that. You know what I mean? Well, yeah.
Yes, lyrically, musically, artistically, philosophically. Like, High Ren was just out of this world, man. I listened to it again earlier when I was like doing some stretches earlier this morning, and it just had me feeling emotional again. Like, it's just so good.
In more than 3 ways, it's brilliant.
I appreciate that. You know what I mean? Well, yeah, and it was very affirming for me, because it's allowed me to start thinking a little bit more daringly, and it's nice to be confirmed. I would have carried on making stuff like that anyway, but it's nice for an affirmation to that it's connecting with it, because ultimately there's still definitely a part of me. I'm not so like, I just don't care about it. It's all about the music, man. There's still a desperate part of me that wants to be accepted, as all of us want to be accepted in some way.
I think some of the lyrics in those songs, you do reference that need as well, don't you?
Of course, yeah.
And brazenly kind of express ambition and stuff. I think it's fucking brilliant. It's just it's so authentic. It's kind of like, it's really exhilarating to listen to it. And I know I'm talking on behalf of everybody that watches my channel, because everybody loved it. And he had so many positive comments. It's one of my more popular episodes, I think.
I appreciate it.
Yeah, I mean, it's great stuff. I've got a few questions if you have the time and the inclination.
Yeah, I do. I've still got a while.
All right, so some of these are from enthusiasts from the channel. Some of these are from myself and from Jenny. So here we go. Ren. I'm just going to read it exactly as it's written. Ren, how overwhelming is the outpouring of love and respect towards you and your music? Is it validating or uncomfortable? I think you've already covered that a little bit, actually.
Yeah, well, I think it is incredibly overwhelming for all the previously mentioned reasons, because I'd never really expected to be in this position. And then,
but do you ever get that thing where you go, like, because it's been such a journey? I mean,
yeah.
Did you? I mean, because for me, it was also a journey, but in a totally different way. It was more like we were being overlooked. And we were kind of like, we felt like there were people in the music trade who were saying, oh, we'd love to sign you, but my boss doesn't think you're serious and all that kind of stuff. And we were frustrated, and we kind of built our audience by doing a lot of live stuff. And then eventually it became inevitable. And then when we did have hits and major label music contracts, my attitude was about fucking time. You know? And I was really ungracious about it, you know, which is kind of like, that's part of the rock and roll thing. You know, it's fun to do that. But, you're quite gracious about it, aren't you? You're actually a nice guy.
Well, look, I think it's funny because the forces that were, I guess, the biggest barrier, and that are still a barrier, were these forces that are outside of my control. I feel like even like early on, I always knew that this is all I wanted to do, and I suppose it's sort of like the accolades and the admiration. It's a bit of an odd one, because I don't feel like because I've always been quite antisocial and stuff like that as well. Like there are parts of it, like to answer the other part of that question, even though I'm grateful for a lot of it, when I'm out on the streets, I feel like I don't want to be really, really famous, which is a bit of an ironic thing, because that's what everything that I do and all the success in my field and your field are measured by fame, really, because that.
Yeah, right, G? 9 minutes? Yep, the lighting, framing, color. Yeah. That's one thing when I first reacted to it, like I wasn't really paying too much attention to that stuff, because just the lyrics and his performance was so captivating.
Success in my field and your field are measured by fame, really, because that's really the measurement of how many people are. It's how many people are aware of it. But my idea of walking down the street and being famous to the point of not having any privacy, where I walk into a store and someone goes, oh mate, let's take a picture, let's get an autograph, let's do this, like a constant barrage of that, for me it's my idea of hell, mate. But like, because I love the creative process. I do love seeing that it's impacting so many people's lives and hearing all these stories. But then I almost wish you could step out of that suit and go, right, that's done. Now I just get on with my shit and just live this life as a bit of an anonymous person, because I love it when I'm on a stage and all of those people know your words. That in that time drown me with attention. But I almost wish then you could step off and just fucking turn it off, because I've never really. I think also it's partly to do with my ownness as well. But I've always been a bit introverted in that respect, even though I may come across extroverted on stage and stuff. I like to just keep myself to myself when all that turns.
That's really interesting, because I've recently been talking quite a lot about an interview that James Hetfield did a while ago. I don't want to keep going back to it, but he was sort of talking about how he finds it difficult to adjust to going back to normal life, having been on stage and loving the, you know, so he can't get the balance right, and he describes them being able to, you know, having to take his own bins out and stuff like that. Whereas, you know, as if James Hetfield does that. But
for me, it's more. I just believe in being totally transparent with all this stuff. When we did the last Big Push show, which went really, really well, but I remember sitting outside. I went into it because I've got a plethora of mental things going on. I remember sitting outside, and I had it was just person after person after person would come up to me and it would always mean a lot. They tell me how much my music meant and stuff, but I was so it's just my mind was so overstimulated with information, because I think because of the nature of what I write about, when people are opening up to me about what it means, it's not just, oh, I love your music, mate. It's like, I was going to kill myself a few weeks ago, and then I listened to and like, to have that conversation when you're not on a total level ground yourself, and to have those conversations not just one time but 50 times in a night, it just becomes to a point where it gets a bit too much. And I remember...
Well, that's where the overwhelming... You probably get a sense of responsibility to your audience as well, which is completely beyond like your responsibility.
And I guess because there'll be a lot of people watching. I guess what I would ask for my audience, and like put it out there, is the best way that I can serve people is by creating music. It's not really to be a shoulder to cry on, to be a advice, because I don't know. I can't give you advice. I'm trying to figure my own life out. The best way I think I can serve people is just carrying on doing what I do and making music and stuff like that, rather than giving too much of myself on a individual basis, because I'm a bit of an antisocial little bugger. I like to keep myself to myself. You know what I mean? Yeah.
But you know what? I think the reality of it is that, like, if you...
Yeah, I mean, that's very true. You can't be trying to get direct attention from Ren, especially at this point in his career.
Keep myself to myself. You know what I mean? Yeah.
But you know what? I think the reality of it is that, like, if you... Even if you were really...
Panic. All right, see you, Panic. Oh, nice. Appreciate it, Panic. Make a Twitch and a Discord? Heck yeah, man. I appreciate that. I hope you have a great day. Thank you for being here. Yeah. Yeah, Des. That's very true. That's good.
You're rude. That's still an interaction that you'll never forget, as from a fan's perspective. Do you know what I mean? Like, I was in... I remember I went to see the Ben Elton musical "We Will Rock You," featuring the music of Queen, and I was invited by Sir Brian May, and I was sat next to Brian May. I was like, "Yeah, brilliant! This is great. You know, my favourite songs and all this." And then, as we were leaving, a woman came up to Brian May and said, "Yeah, Brian, you've got to have a picture with me," and started to do that. And then he went, "No, I don't. Fuck off." No, she'll be dining out on that for the rest of her life. It's amazing. You know, so you could do that and fully get away with it, I think. And people would not only respect it, they'd probably love it. You know?
Yeah.
That's true, Garden. That's a lot to ask of anybody. Yeah, that's very true.
Okay, let's do another question. Here we go. Okay, and I quote, "What is it about your music that's resonated with so many people and elicited such an emotional reaction from people?"
I feel like they should answer the question themselves. They're
definitely not your. It's not your job to answer
They're the receptor of it. I don't know. I really do not know the answer. I suppose that there's a... All right, if I'm going to have a stab at it, I feel like when...
I think that he should mention something about his acceptance of death. I feel like that's a big part of it.
All right, if I'm going to have a stab at it, I feel like when a particular... Because what I'm doing, I suppose, is a little bit different. If that's resonating with so many people at that time, I believe it's because in that time, space and time in culture and society, there's a bit of a want for people talking about a particular subject matter. I believe there's so much hyperpolarization in the world today that it's a good breeding ground for people feeling. Also, social media, we've got a lens. We're all now performers, all of us, every single one. That's what social media has done. It's turned us all, whereas before it was just the performers who were performers. Now all of us are, to a degree, because we're putting our stories out there for everybody to see, for our friends and everything. And I think that is also a very good breeding ground for some more destructive thought patterns. And I guess by amplifying those and putting that into the medium of song, now is a time where a lot of people can relate to it, which is why maybe at this point in time particularly it's doing well. God knows.
Yeah. So you've definitely captured the zeitgeist. By the way, I love that word, zeitgeist. In German it means time ghost.
Nice.
Which is like a time traveling ghost, basically. If you were to make an American TV series from the 80s about
a time traveling ghost. Yeah, nice. The zeitgeist just reminds me of when I was 15 years old. There was this internet video going around called Zeitgeist, which was about the corruption within the monetary system. And do you ever watch that?
Yeah, I think I remember that. Yeah.
Very,
So that
very,
was like those
very,
guys that used to make those sort of like documentaries that were about, you know, the third tower of 9/11 and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, like the Venus Project, and so it had an air of conspiracy about it, but it also at the age of a 15-year-old weed smoking teenager, I was just like, it had such a profound impact on me, because I was reading a lot of like Aldous Huxley and George Orwell and Kurt Vonnegut and lots of dystopia back then as well, and that was like this catalyst into me. I suppose planting the seed into I don't know, just basically questioning everything from above to below, and putting that under a little bit of a microscope, which I guess has been a bit of a theme in my work as well. But yeah, Zeitgeist, bro, that documentary fucking blew my mind. Yeah.
I need to go back and watch it again. I love that too. If I might.
Hey, you're welcome, Carol. Thank you. Thank you. Spirit of the time rather than ghost. Oh, okay. All right, Sput.
Posit an idea.
Sure.
I think it's because you're the zeitgeist right now is like, particularly in when it comes to masculinity, toxic or otherwise, it's always talking about men's mental health and expressing stuff, you know, that you would traditionally feel uncomfortable saying, and the idea of that is to save people's lives, you know, like if you're able to sort of...
Yeah, isn't the #1 cause of death for men under like 40 suicide? I think that's... Don't quote me on that, but I think it's something like that.
Make some utterances that tell people how you're feeling. There's a chance you'll realize that you're not alone, or something will persuade you to not kill yourself, because, you know, at a certain age, it's a man who has that kind of impulse is going to act on it within 24 hours. So there's this whole movement where we've realized that, and we're all basically, everything's about it's okay to not be okay. And my problem with that is the same as I said to you before we started recording. It's like saying bombs are bad. Of course, it's f***ing okay to not be okay. And that's the reason why the expression "okay" exists. You know, it's like there's always going to be people that aren't. You know, and it is fine. It's fine. But that's such a broad and sweeping statement that it doesn't actually help anybody. I think there's not enough to hang your coat on. Whereas the stuff you're doing is so... It casts such a clinical eye on it, and it really, you're declaring things that it takes real courage to declare. You're actually doing the stuff that you're supposed to do to save your life, and it's really like it's beguiling in the truest way, because you're kind of like saying stuff, and it's like, well, okay, now I'm intrigued. What is this? What is he saying, and why is he saying it? And you're pulling people in who want to be there for you only as a set of ears. Do you know what I mean?
Well, yeah. No, I do. It's like you...
That's before I even talk about how great the music is. I mean, that's only like thematically one of my theories about why people love High Ren, for example.
Yeah, well, I suppose it's like you... By doing something, rather than telling somebody that they're allowed to do something, by doing it yourself, it's a lot more enabling, I suppose. And I agree with you, because it's like I was saying earlier, something else popped into my head about it. When you have like a mental health topic, so
Okay, suicide is the leading cause of death for people under 35 and men under 50.
sort of like, rather than telling somebody that they're...
Sorry, I'm gonna go back for a second because I was looking that up.
...are allowed to do something, by doing it yourself, it's a lot more enabling, I suppose. And I agree with you, because it's like I was saying earlier, something else popped into my head about it. When you have like a mental health topic, sort of like toxic masculinity, and it becomes a hot topic and almost like commodified, so it's presented in a very like commercialized way, where it's like, it's fine to... And a lot of the time I can see right through it. You know, like when you get like these TikTok stories come up and it's just some dude and he's just like, he's bawling, crying, and he's also added an emotional piano sound behind the background, and it's just like, it's so important that I open up. You can see straight through it straight away, like, and there may be some merit.
So I'm no longer at risk, Sir Tap. Oh my god.
to it, and there may be some that I open up. You can see straight through it straight away, like, and there may be some merit to it, and there may be some positivity to that, because some people maybe are positively impacted by it. But I think when it's done in such a way that it's more about feeding the persona, it's more about the self gratification of like, oh, if I put this, it's a hot topic, so if I'm going to cry right now, oh brilliant, I'm crying, now I'm going to put the camera on me, and now I'm going to put this sad music, and that's going to get me, that's the problem that I have about these things when they become commodified. It's very similar to when all the Black Lives Matter stuff was happening, and you had big corporations very obviously being like, and now here's a person of color on our front page, and it's just like doing it in such a way that just doesn't feel genuine. It's not actually about the cause, it's about the and so I think that when it's
that's one thing that bothers me about that too. It's like, you can tell they're just doing it for the perception of it. They're not, and like to get people to like them more. It's not genuine. That's a nice pickup by Ren there.
Actually about the cause, it's about the and so I think that when it really is really,
that's the bandwagon, isn't it? That's the
when it's really stripped away of all of that, and like you say, it's so obvious that of course it's okay not to be okay. Of course it's important that as men, as women, as people, we're allowed to speak freely in a place free of judgment. No matter what your background, it's just a no-brainer. And for some reason, clumsily along the way, along our progression and development of society, maybe for reasons that were positive at the time, like at the war, men had to just fucking block down their emotions. Otherwise, how do you deal with the emotional like influx of just seeing everything you love being destroyed, or seeing like war atrocities? I think at the time it was probably important for men to be pretty hardcore and like, do you know what I mean? And to shut down those emotions, and but then hanging on to these things as we progress as a society may be slightly destructive. So it of course it's important for somebody to be able to express themselves freely without judgment. But yeah, like you say, when you see that done in such a way that commodifies it, or is, I think anyone can really deep down feel when something is slightly not authentic or disingenuous.
Some things just ring phony, don't they? And it's usually when there's a movement of some sort happening.
Of course, and yeah, I'd hope that because my journey is a very niche journey. Like, there's only a very small handful of people that are gonna really truly relate to it, but hopefully there are parts within that when I'm expressing it. I'm not going to try and cater to a broader, but by expressing that very small narrow journey that I've been on, hopefully there are elements of that maybe within High Ren or maybe within some other songs that affects people in a broader sense to feel like they're enabled to be able to. That would be brilliant. If that's true what you've said, then that would be a really positive thing, I think, that's come from it, allowing people to feel safer to be able to go, fuck it.
I'm sure there's a percentage that applies to. The other thing I was going to say was like a lot of the people that appreciate what you're doing are also musicians. Like, I know a lot of the people on my channel are musicians of all levels, really, and there's always that sort of cliche of, we're writing songs because it's catharsis and we're addressing these dark issues, and it's like, really, that song that's called Crazy Baby, that's about, is it? Right, okay, cool, good, I'm glad you got your catharsis. And that fucking silty sewage pop music that you're making there, that's like because of your heart being so dark, is it? Right, fine. And then you're coming along and you're definitely doing something that looks and feels like it's cathartic, And it's inspiring for anybody that writes songs to see somebody being that honest and that specific about stuff that's, burdening you. It's fucking exciting, for everybody. I think especially musicians, and especially people who are sick of the current sort of attitudes towards masculinity or the lack thereof.
Yeah, but conversely to that, sometimes I like to make music just to make fun, where it doesn't have to be this big journey into an emotional roller coaster of. Sometimes I just like to rap about nonsense or.
But that's one of the things that lends the authenticity to it, though, isn't it? Because you can't always address one topic in one style.
It'd be exhausting, mate.
Yeah, it would. You have to have those tangential, explorations, don't you?
100%, man. We are a tapestry of things, people.
We are, aren't we? Okay, here we go. Here's another question.
A beautiful tapestry. As Ren said, it would just be vanilla if he did the same thing.
Style is very unique. Did it come naturally? Or did you have to experiment to find your voice and this style of...
Oh my gosh. Shout out the well in the garden. Oh, thank you so much. Guys, huge shout out to well in the garden. Thank you so much. That means... Oh my gosh. That means so much. I really, really, really appreciate that.
Did it come...
I can't thank you enough, guys. Hype in the chat for well in the garden. W's in the chat for well in the garden. Much love.
Naturally? Or did you have to experiment?
You're the best.
Style is very unique. Did it come naturally? Or did you have to experiment to find your voice and this style of writing and storytelling?
Oh, bloody hell.
Thank you.
I suppose
Vanilla is the best flavor. I do actually. I do like vanilla sometimes. W for well. W's. Thank you, well. Like I said to Sput, it really means a lot. It really means a lot. Thank you so much.
But I suppose it's just it's like it's just a there was never any right, I need to be like this, or it's I guess it's just a lot of time stumbling across what excites me. So in terms of the more, I guess the more the stuff that's more within my own lane, it is the more sort of theatrical, the tales and the higher ends and stuff like that. And that really just came about. There was never really.
I just want to take a moment to say I love all you guys. You guys are the best community. You guys have such like positive, kind comments on my videos. The support, man, like it really just like melts my heart. Really, like I feel like I found a group of people that I connect with, you know? I'm sure we all feel the same, but like I just want to take a second to say that.
The tales and the higher ends and stuff like that, and that really just came about. There was never really an intention behind, right, I'm going to do this to have this as my thing. It's more just something I started making a lot of things, and that was the thing that really excited me, so I started doing it more. It was really just through my own exploration. There was never really a decision. As all things, it's just a string of lots of different events. I can't really answer it in a clearer way than that, I don't think. Just a mistake, really. An intentional mistake.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's... it's impossible for you to not be unique, you know. I always struggle with the term very unique. I think you're either unique or you're not. You know, I don't know how you can be quite unique. But yeah, I think if you play all those instruments and you're drawing all those influences, it's kind of like...
Yeah, I just listened to a load of stuff growing up as well, man. I mean, my dad used to listen to a load of folk music, but then a lot of, and my mum was more into like sort of Etta James, Nina Simone, all the soul stuff. And
I swear, every time I start to feel like a little discouraged with what I'm doing, because it's like I've made amazing, significant progress, but it's kind of plateaued recently, and like every time I start to feel a little discouraged or defeated, like I can just go read comments from you guys and like, or like even these live streams. Like Samantha, I'm so happy I've done these live streams too because of all the love and support that I get. Like it really makes me feel like I'm doing a good thing. I'm doing a valuable thing. So thanks again, guys.
Listened to a load of stuff growing up as well, man. I mean, my dad used to listen to a load of folk music, but then a lot of, and my mum was more into like sort of Etta James, Nina Simone, all the soul stuff, and a lot of African music as well. My mum used to go to Ghana a lot, and I think that was a massive part of it. My parents, before my dad left, when I was a kid, like there was a lot of musical stuff just going on, and in the house, and from all different cultures and stuff, and I think that was a massive part of it. And then when I became you know, the rebellious little teenager that wants to break away from all that. Then I started falling in love with like drum and bass, hip hop, and more of the electronic stuff, and then it all kind of melded into one thing, I suppose.
Yeah. When you say hip hop, give an example of some of your favourite hip hop artists.
I mean, the first ones are just an obvious one for any white rap artist. Like I fell in love with Eminem when I heard the Slim Shady LP when I think I was like 9 or 10 years old. My mate.
You know what? For me, that's kind of like that's so because I'm a bit older than you. Like the first album I ever bought was Run DMC record, Raising Hell. And that could have gone either way for me, you know, because I like words and stuff. Yeah. But there was.
So my
no, carry on.
Thanks, guys.
No, I was just going to say because that's a Rick Rubin produced record, and there's some great guitar playing on there. There's some stuff with Joe Perry from Aerosmith on the Walk This Way single, which is that's on that record. And there's also like I think Rick Rubin himself playing on the title track Raising Hell, and that's the thing that got me. Is like, oh my god, listen to that guitar. It was really just
Optimist in my prime. Hey, I like that. Optimus Prime. Fashionably late. Thanks for being here, Prime. And thanks everybody. You're welcome. Thanks, guys.
Hell, and that's the thing that got me. Is like, oh my god, listen to that guitar. It was really just sleazy rock guitar stuff, and that's what I got into, you know. But I can still bust a rhyme, as I'm sure you're aware. I've rapped. I've had occasion to rap myself.
Yeah, man. But no. So I mean, like, same here. Like, so I guess my introduction was through Eminem, and then. To the horror of my parents blasting songs like Kim and stuff full volume as a 10-year-old. But I think it was more the songwriting approach was very influential with the stories, more so of the early records. But then through that, then I found the second album I got was Dre 2001. The production of that, the simplicity and the production of that was I took a lot of influence from that from my production. I used Dre 2001 as a reference mix for my mixing for probably about a decade. After that album was made, it was just such a well mixed album, and but then that led me. Then I got more into like Rage Against the Machine, more because I always loved because I loved this hip hop stuff. But I was still like really sort of I was into like new metal as well. Funnily enough, I had Fred Durst message me, which was a funny one because
really
I love Limp Bizkit and Papa Roach and all that new metal, System of a Down, all of that stuff. That was kind of my thing growing up. But then I went back and I did.
Hey, thanks, Vicky. I'll see you next time. I appreciate you being here.
Run DMC, Beastie Boys, Wu-Tang, you know, like Method Man, Redman, all of that stuff. I just fell in love with. Yeah, I think it's just really the approach to songwriting. It's the stories, man, that I fell in love with from hip hop. Because there's a lot more words condensed into it over song. That's what I liked. You could pack a lot more story in there. And that
because I think with a traditional song, like if you're just, I mean, I've been in situations where I'm doing like pro songwriting gigs, you know, and you're turning up and you're writing for a specific artist, and it's pop music, and it's kind of like you end up just dealing in platitudes. There's no way in a situation like that to actually write something that means anything. And if you're writing a story, it's going to be completely abridged. A lot of the time in that world where it's pro songwriting, you end up, all they want to hear is like a verse, a chorus, and the middle eight, or what they call the bridge, because it's usually in American vernacular. And how are you supposed to tell a story in one verse, one chorus, one bridge of a pop song? I mean, it's always going to be meaningless, watery shit.
That's why I love those old folk songs. You know, the ones that don't have it's like a ongoing, and that's why, because a lot of people I noticed it within the comments were like, oh, it's almost like bard music, and I love the progression of those because they can go on for as long as they go on. It ends when the story ends. It doesn't have to fit a formula.
And you don't necessarily need to have any sort of refrain to you know, I mean, some of them, obviously, some of the best ones do, but it's another one of those situations where there's no rules and the story is the thing that determines. I mean, I drive people mad with an 8 or 9 minute rendition of American Pie, and you always think it's over. And it never is.
Yeah. Mate, I sat through a very painful open mic night where somebody butchered that, but it just kept going.
That might have been me, actually.
No, it wasn't you, but it just kept going. You're like, okay, oh, no. And
Oh, thanks, Brenda.
Also, as well, through the etiquette of open mic night, you have to have 3 songs each. so by picking that, it still only counts as 1. So it was just like, oh no, there's more. Yeah.
Oh dear, that is one of the most contentious songs. People love the chorus, but the rest of it was kind of like 2 or 3 verses would have done the gig. You know, that would have been fine. But it is a bit long, but that's kind of the charm of it as well. So one of the other questions we have here: how do you stay so positive through all of your treatments and medications?
Well, what the thing is people see me when I choose to let them see me. You know. Like that's the thing. Like the windows, and usually the moments that I choose to be seen are ones where I'm feeling slightly more upbeat. There are exceptions sometimes where I'll just not, and I'll open up a little bit. But I think that's it. Like I am a human being, you know. Like while I try and find humor in my situation, and I try and find the humor in a lot of things. It's like that scene in Life of Brian, that always look on the bright side of life while you're about to be crucified. I like I like that mentality, but I don't always live by it, just because I'm a person, and it's just that when I'm in those really deep dark places, it's not really a time that I want to share myself in the public space. So I guess my answer is that I don't always. I don't always, but I try my best to see the light in the dark, and you get better at it after, say, like a decade of illness. You know, it's a skill that I've refined. Or say if I've got a gig that's been booked and I can't change that, and I'm having a bad day, I've gotten a lot better at embodying the me that would be having a good day in that moment if I need to. Yeah.
And then does that create a sort of a flood of symptoms afterwards, so you can sort of hold it at bay?
It's different. So there can be a crash, but there can also be a fake it till you make it sort of situation where you're just pretending to be on, and then you come away feeling slightly better than you did when you started, because you're forcing yourself to be within a certain mindset. That even when I'm feeling great, there's a crash. Like I have a limited window of energy compared to most normal people who haven't got autoimmune conditions. So there's always a crash. So, but the most important for me really isn't the energy crash. It's more about what my mental space is doing within that energy crash. And sometimes I go on stage or I go into a recording session feeling like crap, and I come away from it feeling a lot better. Sometimes I come away from it feeling a lot worse mentally, but it's really the luck of the draw in those situations. Yeah.
It's nice to have the work, though, isn't it?
Oh, mate, amazing. Yeah, I don't feel like it. I'm really lucky to be doing what I do, because I feel like in other industries, say if I was working outside and that was my thing and I was passionate about, there would be days where I just could not do that at all. And if that's a stable source of income, luckily, like with what you and me do, there's residual income and there's passive income, because your songs are always out there for people to listen to, and so it's something that can. So I feel like I got lucky by having this health condition and choosing this line of work, because I feel like if it was something where it would just require my man hours on a day-to-day basis, I'd be in a much more unlucky position. Also, I'd have never been able to afford to come to Canada and do these things as well. So I feel very fortunate to be in this position, and I feel, and my heart really goes out for the people that aren't in this position, who have to rely on disability benefits to get through. And that's one part of my purpose, is hopefully raising enough awareness so that's less of a thing in the future, you know.
Can I ask you a question that isn't part of my prep?
Sure.
You ever done any acting?
Only within the confines of music. Yeah. Right. Yeah.
I reckon you'd be brilliant at it. I reckon you'd be a great actor.
Yeah, it's something I've
for a role in, not in a. I'm trying to imagine how I would cast you. Hang on a second.
I'd like to be a villain, really.
Yeah.
Really.
Okay.
I think Ren could play an amazing villain. He could play like an amazing villain. He could play Moriarty even.
Okay, yeah, because I think you could totally do like a villain in a period piece. I I don't know, like maybe First World War, someone who's just sort of using the trenches and all that horrible stuff that was happening in the First World War to disguise a series of your own grisly murders.
Okay, interesting. Yeah, we're onto a seed here. We're onto a seed here.
Okay,
We're onto a seed.
yeah. So just
No,
something to think about.
So it's interesting, and also the more I've
Cujo beat down
the more
Billy.
I've lent into this world of, I suppose there's not a cool word for it yet, because I haven't seen much else of it. Like with the
In a Bond movie with an eye patch, yeah, definitely.
I suppose there's not a cool word for it yet, because I haven't seen much else of it. Like with the tales and stuff. I suppose the closest thing I came to was like digital theatre, but that can come across. It's not. But it's not really it. That's the thing.
It does sound like a home cinema somehow.
Yeah,
doesn't
and it sounds a bit wanky as well. But the more I've led towards that, I mean, a big dream of mine is I'd love to create like a musical series for Netflix or for Amazon or something like that, where it's music based, but it's not really a musical, because when you think of musical, it can be a bit cringy sometimes. It can be a little. But I'd like to make something a bit darker. Short format episodes that have a dream of mine would to be able.
Like, I could see Ren doing like a Bo Burnham type thing. Like Bo Burnham's Inside on Netflix. I could see Ren doing something like that. He should.
Short format episodes that have a dream of mine would to be able to.
Yes, we did see the merch promo. It was really cool. Yeah, the Peaky Blinders. Yeah, Peaky Blinders.
To get like artists who are popping off to be like, Kendrick, come and do this with Billy, and we'll do a. And then you have this episode that unveils a bit like Tales of the Unexpected.
Yeah, I saw that, Pixie. I saw that. That's really cool. That's so admirable. Love that. I love that he's doing that.
You have this episode that unveils a bit like Tales of the Unexpected or the Hammer House of Horror, where it's just like or to a modern audience like a Black Mirror or that sort of thing, or Love, Death and Robots, where it's just like things going wrong in song just filmed stylistically really, really well. That for me, that would be to be able to be an orchestrator of something like that. I almost feel more passionate about that than becoming a successful musician. But there's a lot of time, and I also see a longer shelf life for something like that, because when by the time I hit 50, 60, 70, to be able to be behind a camera and to be a director and something like that, I would absolutely love. And keeping music as the foundation, but being able to explore and create. I love creating characters in songs. I love creating stories. So to be able to create a larger world would be brilliant. And I just feel like those platforms like Netflix or something like that, because they are a bit more daring, and that Love, Death and Robots, I don't know if you ever saw that, but it was that short format animation thing. To be able to be, I just think that would be brilliant. I'd absolutely love that, and that's almost kind of what I'm slowly edging and trying to work my way towards, whilst doing the music thing in the time being. Yeah,
I think it's in your future.
I hope so.
Okay, this question we've sort of covered, but I'll ask it anyway. How does writing such raw and emotionally vulnerable lyrics leave you feeling? Is it cathartic or just more exhausting? And do you ever feel like you've overshared or exposed too much of that inner life?
No, I never felt like I've overshared. I'm a pretty open book, to be honest, with anything. But I never feel like I've overshared. I think.
I feel like it would feel relieving to get like a good song, a good verse, lyrics out of that you really captured like an emotion or feeling that you were trying to capture. I feel like that's a good release, a good like relieving. I feel like it's a form of healing, like medication for him.
I never feel like I've overshared. I think there are moments in song, I love it when I'm writing a song and I cry, like during the process, because I'm like, fucking brilliant, I just cried then, that means it's good. Like I love being able, I feel like if I can't move myself, I can't really move anybody else. So for me,
is that your barometer for when you know you've hit something that's worthy?
Yeah, for me it's a really good, because Yeah, I think so. I'm not exclusively trying to make myself cry every song I write. Again, that'll be exhausting. But when I'm writing something that is more in that sort of more heavy emotional place, yeah, I think it's partly that, and it's also partly sometimes you just know, you probably relate to this. Sometimes you've written something and you're just like, fucking hell, yeah. And sometimes it's just like you've picked it out of the ether, like you were just like a conduit. You were the thing in the middle of the idea and the paper.
I mean, I don't go in for a lot of hippie stuff, but I do feel like there are some songs that are in the ether. And then, like, holding your guitar and trying to write a song is basically like a net, and you're sitting beside the riverbanks, and then the songs are like butterflies, and if you're not holding your net, you've got absolutely no chance of catching them. So I do feel like that with some stuff, but I also think it's possible to grind out a song that means something.
Yeah. So I think that there's definitely times where you fucking grind and it's not working, and then suddenly it comes together and it's you've done something and you're like, yes, sick. But in those moments where I really do feel in the flow, I do feel like I get this gut feeling that like, and I've been right pretty much 90% of the time when I go, this song before it's out, I'll go, this song will be received really well. And this song will do moderately well, and this song, and usually it's pretty spot on. I don't think I really anticipated quite to what extent it happened with Higher Rent. I knew that when I released it, it was probably the best thing I'd done so far in terms of how it would be received. But I didn't expect it to do anywhere nearly as well as it did do in terms of opening so many doors.
Nice, Brenda. Ren's racing against time. Yeah, I think you're right, Rudy. When I'm feeling creative, art is never finished. It just gets to a point where I can't say it. Yes, exactly. I know exactly what you mean.
I didn't expect it to do anywhere nearly as well as it did do.
You just go, oh yeah, it's good enough. I just can't keep making minor detail changes.
In terms of opening so many, I didn't expect it to do anywhere nearly as well as it did do in terms of opening so many doors and even sitting and chatting to put someone like yourself, and amazing opportunities have come through and followed it. I didn't really expect that, but there was still a gut feeling that like, okay, something about this is right. And but how I'm just
did you feel that though when you're actually writing it, or was it kind of when you
it's when it all comes together. When you're writing it, when I'm writing it, I try not to think too much about the end result, because otherwise I feel like if I'm thinking
hard to resist that temptation, isn't it? To sort of imagine.
Yeah, but it's more there have been some moments where during a song I get really excited and go, I've stumbled across a good idea here. I got that when I don't know if you've heard it, but there was this Money Game Part 2 verse about selling shells and relating that to economic expansion. And when I fell across that idea and when I was writing that song, I was like, this is a really fucking good idea. And when I rolled with it and finished it, it did end up doing really well. So there are definitely moments like that, but I've gone on a bit of a tangent. I haven't really answered the question. I think I'm left. I don't really know how I'm left feeling. It depends on the song, I think. Sometimes I'm left just happy, and sometimes I'm left kind of just like a little bit fuck.
Yeah. So because you're such a self-contained artist, when you finish a song, I mean, for me, it's like we do a song like with the band, and it's a collaborative thing. There's some bits that I'm not sure about, and I have to sort of bend to the will of my collaborators to a degree. That's kind of the nature of it. And sometimes it can be like one of those things where there's too many compromises and it's all, doesn't really mean anything to you anymore. And other times you do something and you think, this is fucking great, amazing. And then you play it to somebody and like, it's not even their reaction. It's more the way you feel when you play it to somebody. It's like you sort of find yourself shrinking. It's like, actually, this isn't what I thought it was.
Yeah. Oh mate, I've had those moments, and I also had and it's funny because it's one person's opinion, but it can really alter how you feel about that song. And I had that with my my old manager. I won't name names, but I played them this new album that's slowly being drip released at the moment, and they were just like, nah, not really that good. I was just like, oh. And then I was like, yes. And then for a while, every they were just like, you know, you could do a lot better. It's just not anywhere near your best stuff. And every conversation that whenever I place people's stuff, I'd be like, oh yeah, I mean, it's all right. I mean, I wasn't really trying, you know, but these are some of these songs that I've done, you know what I mean? Like it's stuck on me so much. And it's funny, those songs are now doing really well, and I guess I've changed how I feel about them. But it is funny how like one person's opinion can really transform your relationship with something that you were really originally very proud of.
Yeah, I mean, I find it's kind of like the way the person that I'm playing it to for the first time reacts is irrelevant to me, but it's how I feel when I'm playing it, if you know what I mean. Like, if I find bits in it that are excruciating, then it's kind of like, this is not ready, or this needs to go into the bin. I can be pretty harsh with my stuff. Do you ever find like you? Are you like
100%? I'll do and redo things. So like I and also with these performances as well. I tend to the amount of preparation work I put, because a lot of people are like, oh, just a natural, but I put in so much preparation work down to.
Just strike me as a really hard-working person.
Yeah, down to the facial expressions, the hand expressions, how I want to convey a certain, and because I'm also directing these videos as well, so down to where the camera should be on me, down to where it goes. So that but then when it comes to the recording process, it's the same thing. Like,
it's all about the creative process.
if the emotion of like 3-second line is wrong, I'll have to do it 50 times if that's how long it takes to get that one line right. I've got a lot of friends in the music world who will just be like, I have to do it in 2 or 3 takes, otherwise there's no point, and they'll just be like, whereas I'm definitely the opposite. I'm very much like, I like to be very forensic with it and just make sure that each line which is funny because a lot of the time then I'll do a live performance and people end up preferring this live performance that isn't forensically looked at, and I'll be like,
the thing is, the one that you forensically kind of build in the studio situation where every line's got to be perfect to you know, just to allow you to move on, that's only the starting point for a song, isn't it? It evolves when you find ways to do it live. And you know, like I hardly ever listened to our first record. It's been 20 years now. I've been obliged to listen to it more recently because we're doing a re-release. And I'm not plugging it, by the way. That's not what I'm doing here. But but
it's only $9.99 in shops.
Coming to all good record stores.
That's so true, Garden. That is so true.
It's only $9.99 in
even a simple smile to a stranger can change somebody's day. It's amazing.
Shops.
Coming to all good record stores. It's I was just saying, like, but I know that having played those songs constantly for the last 20 years in various different live scenarios, they've completely changed, and the way I'm singing them changes, and the stuff I'm playing changes, and they just evolve naturally. But in the first instance,
how much do you hate playing your most requested songs, or do you still love it? Do you still find a way to change it in such a way that brings you a lot of joy?
I'll play I Believe in the Thing Called Love faithfully, day in, day out, until the day I die. I fucking love that song.
That's fucking brilliant, man. That's nice to hear. Yeah,
I love it.
Yeah, that's wicked.
You know,
yeah,
really proud of that song. You know, it afforded me the opportunity to buy this David Hasselhoff cardboard cutout.
Of course. And that's the dream, really. to have David's.
That's my Spotify royalties there.
Yeah, David's crotch just looming in the side of the shot.
Just next to my head, where I always wanted it to be.
Yeah, of course.
Nice one, David. Yeah.
Nice, thanks, David.
Oh, sorry. Let's go back to this.
So funnily enough, I went to a when I was a teenager, I went to this production of Hook in Bristol. And they had this secret guest, and it was David Hasselhoff was Hook. They didn't even promote it as that.
That's a really great bit of casting. You put a moustache on David Hasselhoff, and he looks like his evil twin brother from that episode of Knight Rider, when it was basically David Hasselhoff doing some naughty stuff, but in a similar leather jacket. He wore it with a more of a sort of more of a rebellious persona. Somehow.
Yeah.
But, you know,
what a good show, man.
Hard to believe it was the same actor. You put a moustache on him, and he's just really evil.
Yeah.
I actually did a thing like my brother bought me. Sorry, Ren, I shouldn't be wasting this interview with this, but my brother bought me a David Hasselhoff T-shirt for my birthday, and I decided to wear it all the time, and it was starting to piss him off. And I thought, okay, I'm going to wear this for 100 days straight, never wash it, you know. So I made it 100 days of Hoff, and I did an Instagram post every day of me wearing the same David Hasselhoff T-shirt, and then I was.
You can at least wash it, man. Come on.
Trying to get David Hasselhoff involved. I kept writing to him and saying, "Hey, David, how about a picture of me and you together wearing the Hoff T-shirt, you know, for the finale?"
Oh, that's a great quote, Susan. That's a great quote.
To him and saying, "Hey, David, how about a picture of me and you together wearing the Hoff T-shirt, you know, for the finale?" And he just flatly ignored me throughout the whole thing, which is his prerogative, and I totally respect it. That's one of those things I was saying earlier about if a celebrity is rude, you kind of respect them more. I almost loved him more for it. Of course, I was disappointed. And in the end, I had to use Photoshop to simulate the moment that he might have stood next to me. And I made it so he was wearing a Justin Hawkins T-shirt, I was wearing a David Hasselhoff T-shirt, and I think one of us was standing on the other one's foot. But on closer inspection, it wasn't the best bit of Photoshopping. It was because both of us had the same legs, which were my legs. That's a long story. Sorry about that, Ren.
No. I think Photoshop's always better.
I love that song. Yeah,
Photoshop's always better when it's a bit botched, to be honest.
That's true, isn't it? Okay. Sorry, I don't know how much more time you've got, but there's a few more questions.
Yeah, I've got about 20 minutes.
All right, nice. So, once you become very popular with some people, you naturally will attract those who will try to put you down. Oh, how do you handle criticism, or perhaps we might want to talk about haters? Have you got any haters?
Oh, of course I do. Yeah, I feel like anybody who puts himself in the public sphere will get hate.
I'm starting to realize this. It's not been too bad, but like there's always going to be some haters. Most
of mine comes from TikTok. Because on YouTube it's all pretty much like positive, but I suppose it's because people finding out the channel. I often wonder as well if it's something to do with the fact that it's short form content and my work is kind of like meant to be experienced. Everything's intentional, you know. In a 9-minute song, it's not just like you can drop somebody into a moment and be like and feel the same thing. You just wouldn't. But yeah, I think how do I deal with it? It's like it's just I think it's just desensitization. It's like the first time you read something, it will just stick with you because humans don't like criticism. Like I remember the first time somebody when Blind Eye, the first song we did, went viral, and people would be like, "What a shit haircut," or something like that, and you'd read it and you'd just be like, "Oh, no, I need to go to the barber," and but like you really take it on board and you really take it to heart. But I feel like the more and more it happens, you just really become desensitized to it. So you can look at one of those things and it just bounces off of you. Like it's really not. You could even have, you know, I've even seen these reaction videos where someone absolutely tears apart a song because they go, "I'm going to be the one that hates this," and I you know, it's just this or that,
and then they're trying to make a name for themselves by being.
Thanks, guys. That's true, Spot. That's
maybe
so
not.
true.
Maybe they genuinely hate it, and that's okay. But like I think you just, because you're subjected to so many opinions. One thing that a few years ago I remember saying was like, if I could feel the way about positive comments that I do about negative comments, I'd be on top of the world. I'd be skipping down the street, because when those positive comments come in, they don't really sink in as much as the negative ones. It's like we're looking.
Yeah, why is that?
I don't know, man. That's the thing. If you had the same visceral,
I know what. Maybe is it because you and I hate ourselves?
Maybe it's because we are full of self-loathing. Yeah.
I feel like it's this weird thing where it kind of like almost triggers like a fight or flight, because it's like someone opposition to you, and like, I don't know, but yeah, just giving them even any amount of attention is just like giving them what they want, which is, and a lot of the time it's just like totally toxic. It's just a toxic trap that's like no good to even try to step foot in it.
Yeah, it maybe, but it's strange, but I think it's just really desensitization, and I also think that if you're, if your work is accepted by absolutely everybody, then it's probably quite beige.
You're probably Gary Barlow in that instance.
Yeah, but then not. I don't think it's possible because you're saying that there's almost like a little bit of a negative sense because saying Gary Barlow or do you know what I mean? Like there'll be some people that think it's too applicable to the masses and they won't like it. So I think it's just fucking impossible. And that's good. Like it should be.
You're never gonna make everyone happy. Don't even try. It's just even if you try, you just got to do what's true to yourself. You know, that's really all.
There should be some people that don't fucking like it because everybody lives a very different walk of life and there's no way of creating something that is going to relate to every single person. I feel like it's physically impossible.
Sorry to interrupt you. Earlier on you said something about hyperpolarization and how that's a thing that affects all culture and probably all people and societal stuff, isn't it? But in a way, as an artist, what you're looking to do is polarize, isn't it? You don't want anybody to just think that it's okay. You know?
Yeah.
You want people to hate it, actually, don't you?
Yeah, and if it rubs, I think the criticism that I get isn't really people being the controversy. I like if someone's being that for me is great, but it's when it's a criticism that it's just like, this is fucking cringy and rubbish, or this person. It's what those things, and I'm like, fuck, how am I presenting? It's those criticisms that I think stick with me. But I think it's when it's like when there's so much of it, you it's like anything. Like it's like if somebody sits there like giving you a dead arm for a while, your arm's going to go numb after a while, and you're just going to, it's just going to be slightly irritating. But I don't know, man.
Or you're punching back.
or you're punching back. Yeah. Sometimes I've done that. Sometimes I've just tried to leave like this is the funniest one. Like sometimes I'll leave like, you know, like they'll say something and I'll try and say something witty and that's equally offensive back to them. Sometimes it's full of a lot of malice because I'm so enraged by what they've said that I'm like, I'm gonna fucking look at their profile, I'm gonna tear this motherfucker down, and I come in with pure vengeance and rage. But then they say you shouldn't be so sensitive and react to somebody on the internet. I'm like, oh, because that's usually the reply. They're like, oh, you're so sensitive that you're saying something back. It's like, fucking right I am, mate. If you're going to come out here and like, of course I am. But yeah, it's so funny that's
you literally can't win. You literally can't win with haters, man. It's just not worth it.
Retort. It's like, yeah, you're not allowed to retaliate. Otherwise, that means that you're
not allowed.
Fuck off.
Yeah, your hands are.
I'll come at you, brother.
I always say, off your fuck.
Off your fuck, mate. No, I will come for you with vengeance.
Off your fuck.
But no, yeah, I think you just get numb to it. You just get numb to it.
Yeah. You can't go around being vengeance all the time.
No, of course. I know I don't. Oh, it's only the select ones. It's every night. If someone,
I've done it myself, Ren. You know, I've done it myself. I know how it feels. It's a beautiful feeling. Yeah. And then you just think, oh, why did I do that? And then you get you're too sensitive. It's like,
But I always do it with humor though. I'm not just nasty. I'll always try and do it in a way that's like poking fun of somebody in a way that would be like a heckler and a comedian. But yeah, I still sometimes find a little bit of pleasure in it.
Yeah, good for you, man. You deserve it. So here's a question, and we can do a real quick answer on this. Recently, you've been leaning more towards rap music and hip hop. Will you bring out a more rock-inspired song?
Yeah, 100%. I feel like it's just what comes out. So usually my albums before, or the bodies of work that I made before this were quite eclectic, and this album was very hip hop focused, which is why there's been a lot of hip hop at the moment. And then the album that I did that intentionally because I was like, you know what, hip hop was such a huge influence for me, and it would be really nice to almost have. It's more. I guess it's a bit of an ego thing. It's more like be accepted within the hip hop community for my skills as a hip hop artist, and that started happening. You know, I've had some brilliant people who I respected reaching out, being like, "This is a sick record," and I love your flow and stuff on this, and that feels really good to me. And because I did actually before that really more come from a place of rock inspired singing sort of place, and so what I really wanted to do was make that album and it feels like it's achieving the purpose in which I intended, which is just to really, hopefully, be a credible hip hop record. And then after this one, I'm doing the opposite, and I'm going down the lane of a more. I put this out there, but I'm going to go down the route of a more just song-based inspired record. I've got nearly all the songs written for it now, but it's really it's sort of very song melodic inspired records that come from a lot of my favorite bands, like the Red Hot Chili Peppers, the Police, the early Blur stuff, like a lot of the Britpop scene.
Wait, is he talking about Slaughterhouse here? Probably not. This was a while ago.
And then going back even further, and you know, Jeff Buckley, whoever, lots of soul stuff, but there's just a lot of influences crammed in there because I really wanted to make a timeless record, and so that's what's coming next, and obviously dotted around that is a lot more of my more conceptual music pieces, but they always sit by themselves. They never really belong on albums because I feel like they just occupy their own space. But yeah, so the next album will be exactly that, and I know a lot of people. One of the criticisms that I get that isn't really a criticism, it's a backhanded compliment, is a lot of people say, oh, I miss when you sing, I miss when you play guitar, I miss when you do more of this, and I do too, to be honest, like, and that's why, but I just really wanted to hone in on this produce beats hip hop record because it was just, for me, this was something I really wanted to do. And then the next thing will be a huge step away from that, and I love the freedom of being able to do that as well, and I guess that's one of the luxuries of staying independent, is there's not a case of too many cooks to boil the broth, where they go, this hip hop album was a great success, when is the next hip hop album coming? So it's nice to be able to have the freedom to then go, okay, I've done this, and now I'm going to do this, and yeah.
It really is. I think what people are investing in when they buy your record or you know, follow you for any part of your journey is that it's you as a creative entity, no matter what's going on. It's really exciting that you've already written all that stuff. You know, it's pretty amazing. You're so prolific.
Yeah, I hope so.
You must be like a Diane Warren level prolific songwriter, aren't you? How many songs a month do you think you write?
Oh, it totally depends on the month, mate. Like, I haven't actually written a huge amount since I've been here in Calgary, but I've been really going through the motions. I'm in clinic like every day with these drips, and the new medication that I've gone on has, I guess, stifled it a little bit. But luckily, they're not medications I'm on for life. But it really depends. Sometimes I can be writing, just churning them out, and write a couple of songs a day, but sometimes it's not that. My hard drive is a massive vault full of songs. There's loads of stuff on there from the years when I was sick. There's just so many ideas there that but for me it's just
oh, you're good, Bon Jovi. You're good, man. It's all good. The thing with that song with me is, like, he did such a good job on it that I didn't notice. And that's fine. And, like, it's not like it was just noise. Like, it wasn't just noises coming from his mouth. Like, there was production on the noises coming from his mouth still. So it was like you can still make similar noises like that on a synthesizer or like any kind of thing. It's like, I don't know. To me, it's like, it's not that far-fetched, especially me being a younger person who's grown up with more produced music, like synthesized music, as opposed to someone who grew up hearing like organic instruments on music. Like, I could see you catching that easier, but I don't know. To me, it wasn't like. It's really interesting that it was the way it was, but like, yeah.
From the years when I was sick, vault full of songs. There's loads of stuff on there from the years when I was sick. There's just so many ideas there that, but for me, it's just it's just very important part.
I like that spot. I like that a lot.
Of what makes me is being able to be creative. It's so it's never really, I've never really looked at it in any other way other than just. It's almost like I know this sounds pretty wanky, but I feel like I need.
Like, oh, my bad. I didn't know you were that stupid. Sorry, I just thought you were. I thought you were making a joke. It turns out you're just actually stupid. My bad. Sorry.
Any other way other than just. It's almost like I know this sounds pretty wanky, but I feel like I need to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. That comes across. You're inspiring to all of us, I think. It's brilliant stuff. So anyway, thanks a lot for today. I think this has been so much fun to get to.
Right, Sir Tap. Yeah.
know you a little bit, and really interesting stuff as well. You want to sing my theme tune with me? You don't have to. It's really...
Yeah, show me. Well, we can do a dueling banjos.
Yeah! Which key are we in?
I know. Your guitar's not getting picked up at all, so this is going to be impossible for me. I'm going to have to look at your fingers. Still no. It's like blocking out. All right, I'll just sing with you.
Justin Hawkins writes again.
Justin Hawkins writes again.
Oh, wow.
With Ren.
With Ren.
Wow, I can see
That was so good.
like
What?
a real crooners album, kind of big band stuff.
Oh yeah, we need to do that 100%. That's the next thing.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for listening, everybody.
Yeah.
Don't forget to like, subscribe, hit the bell for notifications, watch one of these 2 videos. Thanks, Ren.
Brilliant, mate.
Thanks so much for watching.
Wait,
Thanks.
it looked like Ren wanted to say something, but he just didn't. I actually really like that. He's an antisocial little bugger.
Ren.
Brilliant, mate.
Thanks so much
he's just like brilliant. All right, I'm out of here. I was gonna say something, but nope.
for watching. Please let's continue the conversation in the comments section. Tell me which part of this interview you enjoyed the most. If you want to listen to it as an audio podcast, it's available on Spotify, Apple Podcast episode of. I'll put a link to it in the description here.
All right, that was a great interview. Yeah, I learned a little bit about Ren. Oh, hey, Kitty in the garden. Boy, you got Well in the garden and Kitty in the garden. Kitty, you showed up right at the end. We just finished the Justin Hawkins interview. Oh, that was a lot of fun. Yeah, thank you guys so much. I'm gonna end the stream now, but thank you guys so much for being here. Thank you for all the love and support and kind comments. We've got a nice community here. I love this, and thank you for the support. It really means a lot. And again, if anybody here has a Twitch or Discord wants to make one, I've got my Discord and Twitch links in my YouTube bio, so you can find me there. I'm going to be streaming on Twitch later tonight. I try to stream like every weekday. And take care. Holy shit. Holy shit, Sput. Holy, bro. Thank you so much. Wow. Wow, dude. Bro, wow. Legend. Actually legend. Vicky. Right, Vicky. Oh my God, dude. Wow, man. I can't thank you enough. I feel like I don't even deserve that, but really thank you, bro. Oh my God. That really makes me feel like so like, oh my God. I don't even know. I don't have words, man. Thank you so much. So yeah, much love to everybody. Holy crap, dude. Gosh, you got me all, I'm on my heels now. Sorry, I'm just reading comments. All right, guys. Like, Splat, that's so helpful. I don't think you understand right now. Yeah. Go have a good day. Yeah, I'm going to go grab some food. I'm going to grab some lunch. I'll be on Twitch later tonight. But thank you guys so much. Much love. I'll see you guys in the next stream. Maybe we'll watch another interview. Maybe we'll watch one of Ren's Twitch streams. I don't know. But so much love, guys. Spread the love. And I can't wait to see you guys in the next one. Peace.